The story goes that on a beautiful day, our female protagonist, Lim Dim, opened her eyes and was greeted by the sight of a wooden house decorated in an ancient style. The scene gradually became clearer in Van Tin's dizziness. It hurt so much. Didn't I have a car accident and fall off a cliff? Where am I? Am I still alive? Van Tin, in extreme confusion, tried to look around to assess the situation. In front of her was not an ancestor coming to take their descendant to the afterlife, but a handsome young man with a blurry interface. He was currently carrying her in his arms and saying worriedly, "Van Tin, hang in there. I won't let anything happen to you." Van Tin was a bit surprised by the person in front of her. She seemed to not believe her own eyes. Van Tin then moved her still trembling hand to check and felt the tightness. She couldn't help but exclaim inwardly, "Oh my, what firm chest muscles. Could this be heaven?" While Van Tin was still immersed in this newfound boy-crazy reincarnation, the handsome man suddenly turned to speak to the girl behind him with a panicked look. Adao. Van Tin has been seriously injured by the skin demon. She's in critical condition. She's starting to talk in her sleep now. Please, use the spirit pill to save her. The other girl was beautiful and sharp-looking, exuding an elegant aura. She was the daughter of the Xintian sect leader, Zhao Tin. She firmly refused the other person's request. Unless Brother Kai Fi wants to spend another day and night at Xintian Pavilion for Tam Van Tin's sake. You're forcing me to go against family rules to save someone. Do you really care about her that much? Kai Fi then pleaded earnestly, Adao. Now I can only ask for your help. The dialogue between the two of them startled Van Tin, who was in the midst of a pink, girlish dream. Wait, what's all this about Adao and Kai Fi then? Uninvited memories suddenly flooded into her mind. Tam Van Tin, Ki Fi Tan, Azao. And what's this about a skin demon? It all feels so familiar. Have I transmigrated into a book? At that moment, Van Tin seemed to enter a virtual world where she saw a system notification. Congratulations, heroine, you have successfully connected with the female supporting character in the novel Reverse Bone. Due to your unexpected death, you have become the female supporting character with the same name as you, Tam Van Tin. We hope you can successfully complete your mission. Faced with such hard-to-accept information, Van Tin froze for several seconds, her brain unable to process it. After a while, she finally understood. I see. I've transmigrated into a book as a supporting character, and there's even a system. It seems I'm the golden finger that best fits the criteria. Normally, in this situation, I'd either cultivate the male leads or male supporting characters' powers, or start a business or something. In the end, I could change the situation perfectly. But life isn't a dream. The system's one sentence shattered Van Tin's beautiful fantasy. No, those are too difficult. You're not worthy. Van Tin heard the tune of the hometown river in her head and couldn't help but curse the system inwardly. What do you mean not worthy? This crappy system even knows how to mock people. The system quickly displayed Van Tin's mission requirements. Implementation plan, sweet romance. Prevent the male and female leads from breaking up or canceling their engagement. Help this world reach a happy ending, turning this angst novel into a sweet one. Current progress, 0 out of 100. Hearing this, Van Tin froze stiff once again. She dejectedly collapsed on the ground, as if throwing a tantrum. I won't do it anymore? What kind of joke is this? She remembered that this novel was about the male and female leads forming a small team to protect world peace and exorcise demons. In the end, they seal the demon lord once again. It sounds very passionate just hearing about it, but in reality, it's a harem dog-blood novel disguised as Xinxia. The male lead barely exorcises any demons throughout the journey. Instead, he gathers a whole den of spider spirits, all kinds of evil female supporting characters. Worst of all, he and the female lead keep breaking up and getting back together. It's not until they sacrifice themselves with a double-edged sword that one dies and one gets injured that it finally ends. As for Van Tin's original owner, she was the first piece collected by the male lead. Tam Van Tin was adopted by the Kai family from a young age. The male lead saw her as a little sister, but this little green tea wanted to climb up to become the main wife. Not only that, she used her reign sister status to intentionally stay close to the female lead and cause trouble. Apart from annoying people, she didn't accomplish anything. In the end, she was possessed by a ghost demon and became a standard cannon fodder, sealed away by the male lead's own hands. Van Tin transmigrating into such a green tea supporting character and not being buried alive by the female lead was already a miracle. Yet this crappy system is forcing her to play matchmaker for the main couple. It's laughable. Van Tin has already been unfortunate enough to be logged out of the Earth server, and now she's being forced to pave the way for some couple's romance. Just thinking about it is too miserable to speak of. At this moment, the system sounded another warning. Please confirm your side mission. World peace. Prevent the main villain of this book, Xia Wu Yin, from massacring the human world. Save the people of the world. Current progress, 0. Now it's completely messed up. Van Tin could already smell trouble. You're telling me to stop the most powerful boss in the book, the demon lord Xia Wu Yin, who kills as easily as breathing. You might as well tell me to go die right now. Although this guy is also very handsome, I absolutely dare not get involved with someone from the underworld. Whoever likes it can go for it, but Van Tin sees this as a bad deal. Van Tin requests permission to faint. Out of sight, out of mind. Let's consider it another logout from this cruel reality. Just destroy everything and let the main couple join forces against Xia Wu Yin. In the end, it's a yin-yang couple with one dead and one injured. Whoever wants to complete this mission can do it. The female lead, Feng Jiaoqing, seeing her faint in the male lead's arms, thought she was putting on an act. She felt uncomfortable. That fool Kai Fai then was still running around caring for his green tea sister, constantly saying, "Wake up, Van Tin." He turned to beg Feng Jiaoqing for help, but the novel's female lead couldn't stand this eyesore anymore and coldly turned her back. The spirit pill is my sex secret treasure. It's not for outsiders. Please leave quickly and let things settle. Kai Fai then, holding Van Tin in his arms, said, "But I can't abandon Van Tin." His words were like a knife cutting into Feng Jiaoqing's heart. Tears were about to fall from her eyes. At this moment, the system also experienced fluctuations, continuously issuing warnings. Warning: the relationship between the male and female leads is about to crack. The angst index is at 3 out of 100. The total progress of the mission is -2. Please, trial taker, quickly come up with a solution. If the mission fails, you will directly go to collect your last meal. As soon as she heard that she might have to collect her last meal, Van Tin woke up immediately. Regardless of how dog-blood this novel is, keeping her little life is the top priority. Put me down, let me walk on my own. Clearly on the verge of death from serious injuries, she suddenly recovered. No time to be boy crazy now. This kind of male lead with 0 emotional intelligence. I'll have to pass. Kai Fai then worriedly ran after her. Van Tin, don't cause trouble anymore. Your body can't take it anymore. Listen to me. But she still firmly said, "I won't listen. I'm quite stubborn." After just a few steps, her body was already weakened because the original owner was still seriously injured at this time. Kai Fai then immediately ran to support her, but she resolutely pushed him away. "Don't come here." Gathering all her courage, she took a deep breath as if preparing to confess. Van Tin then said to Feng Jiaoqing, "Sister Feng, I can't die. That skin demon's cultivation is profound, and it's very difficult to track it down. Fortunately, it's obsessively fixated on this body. As long as I'm alive, it won't switch to another target. We can't harm innocent people." Van Tin then deployed her acting skills worthy of an Oscar, playing the role of a weak girl next door that everyone wants to protect. Feng Jiaoqing, who was initially so determined, now began to waver. Van Tin continued to persuade, "Can we eliminate it together? I'll be the bait to lure the skin demon." The situation was going smoothly when suddenly that crow-mouthed Kai Fai then butted in. "Van Tin, you know I won't let you be the bait." He couldn't do anything useful, just ruin everything. Van Tin shot him a bullet-like glare. She immediately tried to shut him up, lest he spout more ignorant words to anger the novel's female lead and ruin everything. You will do that, brother, please shut up." Brother Kai knows that Sister Feng thinks of the people of the world, willing to sacrifice herself for the greater good, and has a kind heart that loves and forgives the common people. That's why she brought me to Xintian Pavilion for medicine. Indeed, the mind-reading technique targeting Feng Jiaoqing's motherly instincts had succeeded. Feng Jiaoqing turned to her servant and said, "Quickly, go get the spirit revival pill." Even though the servant worriedly asked about the family rules, Feng Jiaoqing remained firm. "I can't stand by and watch someone die. Moreover, this matter concerns the safety of all people. Just go get the medicine. I'll bear any punishment." Van Tin didn't expect things to go so smoothly. The first step had succeeded. Van Tin's gaze towards the novel's female lead also held some goodwill. She didn't expect her to be so upright and kind, not abandoning someone in need due to personal grudges. I've won the bet. But at this moment, Van Tin felt the world darken around her, her body losing all strength. I'm finally saved, but why can't I see clearly? And why does it hurt so much? The scene before her eyes gradually blurred. Van Tin coughed up blood and then fainted, still in shock and not understanding what was happening. Sometime later, when Van Tin woke up, she found herself lying in the guest room of the Xintian sect. Feng Jiaoqing personally treated her wounds and regulated her meridians. The spirit revival pill lived up to its reputation as a secret treasure. After just 2 days of taking it, her wounds had improved considerably. Back then, when she was bleeding, she thought she was about to meet her maker and join the Naked Chicken Club for sure. Van Tin smiled brightly and said, "I'm truly very grateful, Sister Feng." However, she was met with only Feng Jiaoqing's indifferent and cold demeanor. Kai Fi then went to look for fairy grass for you. He's not here. You don't need to act anymore. This struck Van Tin hard. Just starting to get acquainted, and already being hit with such a cold shower, she knew she was in trouble. Feng Jiaoqing's impression of the original owner must have been really bad. It seemed that to stay by her side, she'd need Kai Fi Than's help. She could only gradually change her attitude towards the original owner. Van Tin hurriedly thought of hundreds of strategies to salvage this situation that was more ruined than her own life. Sister's dress today is so beautiful, it really suits your hairpin. Feng Jiaoqing displayed a face of disbelief, as if she had seen through everything from the start. You've said these words to me before. You also said that Brother Kai doesn't like women who dress like me, that I have no feminine charm at all, but he only sees me as a friend. You even told me not to delude myself. Feng Jiaoqing's cold-as-money expression made Van Tin freeze stiff on the spot. Who would have thought the original owner was so skilled at lip service? It's beyond saving now. And it's true, a green tea sister like the original owner wouldn't be nice. That's why she died. How could she compliment the female lead? Van Tin didn't give up so quickly. She continued to put on an industrial-grade smile to salvage the situation. That was because I didn't understand before. Actually, I can see that Brother Kai cares a lot about Sister Feng. Hearing this, Feng Jiaoqing gave a half smile and said, "You've said these words to me before too. You said it was just concern between friends, that he shows kindness even to cats and dogs, so I shouldn't get my hopes up. This was beyond saving. It needed a funeral." Normal people couldn't spout such idiotic words. Van Tin couldn't help but scream internally. Original owner, you're really something. You said all the worst things possible. Feng Jiaoqing wasn't free to chat idly with Van Tin anymore, so she turned away. Your wound condition has basically recovered. Rest well, and then take your leave. Van Tin saw the other person stand up to leave and anxiously called out Sister Feng, but she didn't turn back. According to Van Tin's grape-sized memory, in the original story, there was a plot where Feng Jiaoqing was injured during cultivation. Kai Fi Than's trip to find medicine this time was also for Feng Jiaoqing, but she couldn't say anything about this. She could only sigh and think that she'd have to wait for Kai Fi Than to return before she could gradually find ways to improve their relationship. As she was walking out, Van Tin overheard Feng Jiaoqing talking to someone. "Miss Feng, the Xintian sect disciples are ready to go behind the mountain at any time." Van Tin felt like she'd struck gold hearing this. So the Xintian sect has to patrol behind the mountain today. This is it. Tonight, Feng Jiaoqing will save the great demon king Xie Wu Yin after he's seriously injured. He's already run to the Xintian sect. If following the story's development, Xie Wu Yin will pretend to be harmless and infiltrate the protagonist's team, blending in with everyone. After the protagonist obtains the lonely light sword that can seal him, he'll snatch the sword and capture people. Without any fear, he'll massacre the human world. Thinking of this, Van Tin suddenly came to her senses and hurriedly ran outside. No, I must think of a way. I can't let the plot develop like this. I must prevent the stubborn demon king from developing feelings for the female lead. Remembering the story setup that at this time, the demon king Xie Wu Yin is a weak, seriously injured person without strength. A vicious thought suddenly occurred to Van Tin. The great demon king is seriously injured now, too weak to tie a chicken. I can nip all his schemes in the bud. Why not just kill him? That would settle it. Killing someone on a moonlit night covered by clouds would be undetected by gods or ghosts. So in the pitch-dark night, Van Tin lit a lamp and ran to the back of the mountain. After searching for a long time without finding anything, she thought to herself, could it be that finding the great Demon King also requires luck? I'm dead tired. I really can't go on anymore. Just as she was about to collapse on the ground from exhaustion, Van Tin suddenly touched something. What's this? Why does it feel so slippery? Looking closely, she saw it was a blood-stained hem of a robe. She cautiously held up the lantern to illuminate below and was shocked by what she saw. In the bushes was the Demon King Xie Wu Yin, who killed without mercy. Although he looked delicious and tough as beef jerky right now, the important thing was to have a life to enjoy it, not to die at the starting line. Van Tin exclaimed joyfully in her heart. I went on patrol behind the mountain and caught the great Demon King to keep. Without realizing it, the time to make a contribution for humanity's future had come. Van Tin immediately drew her knife and brought it to the neck of the unconscious Xie Wu Yin. Perhaps because it was her first time doing this, Van Tin kept fumbling around trying to find where there was more blood. She reasoned for a while that this position wasn't very convenient. What if she stabbed halfway and he woke up from the pain? If her knife hadn't fully penetrated, would she possibly be killed by him instead? Maybe she should try this. Thinking this, Van Tin decisively climbed onto his body to proceed. Xie Wu Yin was now like a fish on a chopping board, letting her touch him as she pleased. She still couldn't stab an artery. If blood spurted onto her when she returned and was seen by the Xintian people, it would be very difficult to explain. Finally, she touched Xie Wu Yan's throat. This spot will do. After stabbing, it will also block some blood. Having chosen a suitable position, Van Tin resolutely raised the knife. Before the knife could come down, that evil demon opened his eyes wide, causing her to be startled and freeze in place. If it weren't for her strong mentality, she would have been so scared that she'd turn soft and run away in panic. In fact, her little heart was beating as if it wanted to jump out of her chest. Oh crap, the great Demon King has opened his eyes. In the original story, didn't it say that the Demon King's demonic power was damaged and sealed, making him no different from a normal person? Didn't it say that the female lead had to stay by his bedside for 3 days and nights before he could barely open his eyes? How could he now be able to interrupt and eat rice? Truly worthy of being called the Demon King. As soon as he opened his eyes, a terrifying pressure like a 1,000-pound rock pressed down on Van Tin, making her not dare to utter a single sound. A strong wind rose, carrying with it an intense demonic aura that was oppressive. While Van Tin's posture clearly showed her intention to assassinate, it was undeniable, so she could only follow through. Van Tin gathered all the courage she had since birth to stab the knife off to the side of Xie Wu Yan's shoulder. She could only try to divert his attention and wait for Feng Jiaoqing's patrol team to come and rescue her. Perhaps then her little life could be saved. Van Tin forced the most fake smile possible. That was dangerous just now. Do you know? While you were sleeping, an ant almost crawled onto your face. But don't worry, my knife has already helped you kill it. You don't need to thank me. Just treat me to a meal sometime. A weak man like you staying here while injured will surely attract monsters. I know people from Xintian Pavilion. Don't worry, I'll definitely beg them to help treat your wounds. Unexpectedly, going one step ahead of the plot to deal with the Demon King had backfired. Van Tin could only hope for divine intervention. Xie Wu Yin then smiled bewitchingly and said, all right then, leaving Van Tin bewildered. How could the great Demon King be so easy to talk to? However, get off me first. Only then did Van Tin realize that her current position was rather improper. She hurriedly stood up, trying to act nonchalant. How embarrassing. Suddenly, there was a slight disturbance in the space that caught Van Tin's attention. The air carried an intense demonic aura and eerie growls in the dark night. Van Tin was terrified. This is not good. It's the ghost demon. One Demon King falls from the sky, and a ghost demon comes as a bonus gift. This luck is better than winning the lottery. In this situation, if she didn't act quickly, they'd all be doomed. Van Tin immediately chanted a spell to create a substitute figure to attract the ghost demon's attention. As for Xie Wu Yin, she said to him, I want to negotiate something with you. I feel that we can't handle this ghost demon. Your substitute can only hold it off for a while. So I'll go find reinforcements while you stay here and hold out a bit. I'll definitely come back to save you. Don't worry. Van Tin put on a trustworthy face to reassure him, but in her heart, she had long wanted to run away. That's right, you can rest assured and leave. I'll definitely stop Feng Jiaoqing, who's patrolling the mountain. After you die, I'll come back to help collect your corpse. However, this little thought of Van Tin's couldn't escape the cunning Great Demon King's eyes, and he had already seen through it. Just then, an arrow came out of nowhere, shooting straight into the ghost demon, causing it to cry out and dissipate, much to Van Tin's surprise. The person who came to the rescue was unexpectedly Feng Jiaoqing. As soon as she appeared, she asked Miss Tam, "Why are you here?" Van Tin almost cursed Feng Jiaoqing for coming at such an inconvenient time. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Having already said she'd go call for help, Van Tin could only smile awkwardly. See, I said I'd call for help, didn't I? I didn't lie to you. Then she reluctantly turned and said, Sister Feng, there's an injured person here. Please come quickly and take a look. Under the dim lantern light in the night, Feng Jiaoqing sat down beside the injured Xie Wuyan to examine his condition. She used her spiritual power to check Xie Wuyan's body and said, "You've been hit by a heart-locking spell. Who are you, and why were you subjected to such a vicious technique?" This time, Xie Wuyan unleashed his top-notch acting skills. Just moments ago, he was oppressively intimidating towards Van Tin, but now in front of the female lead, he transformed into a harmless, weak, and pitiful little cat. "I'm a demon hunter. Half a month ago, I rescued some little girls from the hands of demon cult followers, so they held a grudge against me. I was surrounded by the demon cult seeking revenge. They forcibly cast the heart-locking spell on me. These past few days, I've been hounded by demons with no way out, so I came to Xintian Pavilion for help." Such a perfect script naturally moved the White Lotus female lead, easily deceiving her. "I see. Don't worry, Xintian Pavilion will absolutely not mistreat righteous people." Xie Wuyan then smiled gently and said, "Thank you." Van Tin, sitting beside them, was boiling with anger. Xie Wuyan's acting skills could win him a Best Actor award in modern times. No wonder the male and female leads were fooled so thoroughly. He does have some talent. After questioning Xie Wuyan, Feng Jiaoqing turned to interrogate Van Tin. "Miss Tam, you still haven't answered my question from earlier. Weren't you supposed to be resting in your room? How come?" Van Tin was startled by this. Running out at night to find a man like this, isn't it very suspicious? She had to make up an excuse that she went out for a walk to aid digestion. Feng Jiaoqing found this reason quite unbelievable, but since Van Tin nodded vigorously, she reluctantly let it slide. Van Tin smiled widely, pointing towards Xie Wuyan, and explained, "Then halfway through my walk, I encountered this hero. Seeing that his wounds were very severe, I stayed here waiting for him to wake up, wholeheartedly caring for him without leaving for a moment. No need to thank me, as this is what people of the Jianghu should do." This self-directed act was too fake. Even Xie Wuyan probably couldn't bear it. He forced a pained smile and said, "Thank you, miss. This Xie will surely repay your kindness generously in the future." His demeanor made Van Tin's spine go cold as she stammered, "No need for such formalities." But in her heart, she was screaming because tonight's assassination attempt could be considered a complete failure. The dire situation made Van Tin even more uneasy. It's no use deceiving him. This villain's IQ is still normal. I'm afraid I'll still be on his assassination list. I'll have to find a way to regain his favor later. That night, when Xie Wuyan was brought back to Xintian Pavilion to recover, Van Tin kept pacing back and forth, looking out as if there was a ghost in the house, waiting for news. When Feng Jiaoqing came out, Van Tin snapped to attention and ran over to ask about the situation. How is young Master Xie's wound condition? To outsiders, it seemed like Van Tin was very concerned about him, and she was indeed worried, but worried that he wouldn't die. Fortunately for her, Feng Jiaoqing said, "Although the heart-locking spell hasn't been lifted yet, there are no major obstacles anymore. Gradual recovery will suffice." Van Tin heard this and died a little inside, persistently asking again, "Really no major obstacles?" Not even a slight chance of life-threatening danger. Feng Jiaoqing replied, I will personally treat him. Van Tin still stubbornly asked one more question. So, is there any chance you might make a mistake? Feng Jiaoqing answered, Miss Tam, rest assured, I've never made a mistake. This meant it was truly hopeless. Never had Van Tin wished for someone to use the wrong medicine as much as today. Van Tin shined deeply. As expected of a villain, his vitality is too strong. My relationship with Feng Jiaoqing isn't good. I can't speak directly to her. I can only hint at things indirectly. Van Tin thought and acted immediately. She followed Feng Jiaoqing like a little tail. Sister Feng, think about it. The back of Xintian Mountain is heavily guarded. How could he possibly? Feng Jiaoqing nodded, saying she was right. Van Tin's eyes lit up like car headlights, thinking there was hope to spark the female lead's suspicion. But reality doused her with a bucket of cold water. To have the courage to recklessly infiltrate deep into Xintian Mountain, and to be able to offend the demon cult for the sake of innocent children, persevering against the heart-locking spell at the cost of his own body. This is a true hero. Van Tin heard this and collapsed. Something just didn't sit right. It's true that one doesn't fear a strong enemy, only an overly praising teammate. In just half an hour, the female lead had already been brainwashed by the villain. Unable to carry such a teammate, it was truly unbearable. There was no hope left with this female lead. The only hope now was for the male lead to return with the medicine in a few days. As Van Tin was in pain, collapsing and hugging a pillar, she suddenly felt a stinging sensation from her fingertip. She wondered curiously when her finger had gotten scratched. Perhaps it was during the assassination attempt on Xie Wuyin due to nervousness. It was getting late, and Van Tin thought she should go to sleep. That night, under the clear moon and gentle breeze, Van Tin was lying in bed, snoring innocently, when suddenly there was a rustling sound. She remained still, not moving. Unbeknownst to her, the demon king Xie Wuyin had found his way to her door, watching her sleep with a glint of killing intent in his eyes. The person I encountered after this ordeal truly has the guts of heaven, and absolutely cannot be kept alive. Thinking and acting, he reached his hand towards Van Tin's neck. Van Tin slept like the dead, even drooling, completely unaware. Suddenly, as Xie Wuyin's hand was close to her face, she turned to one side. Accidentally, her lips touched his fingertip. Xie Wuyin was a bit surprised and quickly withdrew his hand. He silently looked at her with a judging gaze. What an unsightly sleeping posture. He looked at her for a long time, then by some mysterious power, he changed his mind and left, no longer wanting to take this little life. He closed the door behind him as he left. Van Tin, lying sprawled on the bed, slowly opened her eyes to peek. Seeing it was safe, she finally sat up, her soul still intact after the scare. Oh my God, that scared me to death. I almost couldn't hold back from sneezing. She completely couldn't understand the thought process of the main villain, coming into a girl's room in the dead of night to touch around, staring for a long time, and then leaving. Doesn't he know that will make people feel pressured? Van Tin fumbled out of bed to find water to drink and regain her composure. Then, feeling the room was stuffy, she went to open the window for some fresh air. However, as soon as the window opened and Xie Wuyin's menacing figure came into view, she turned to stone on the spot. This is chilling enough. No need for ventilation anymore. He flashed a bewitching smile. That made Van Tin's heart drop, not daring to cry out. Big brother, I made a wrong move. Let me redo it. She pretended not to have seen anything and closed the window, but was stopped by the great Demon King. In such SOS situations, Van Tin could only put on a confident smile. What a coincidence. Young Master Xie, you're also here to admire the moon and stars. Xie Wuyin smiled wryly and replied, Indeed, what a coincidence. She had to play dumb and say to him, It's very late now. Young Master Xie's wound condition has just improved. Why have you come here? Unexpectedly, Xie Wuyin innocently used her own words. It's all good for digestion. Van Tin froze stiff. This guy's memory is really good, and he learns 10 from understanding 1. Old man, I need to think of a way to quickly send him away. She forced an awkward smile and said to him, Although I'd like to invite you for tea, your body is ill, and it's nighttime. You've been out in the wind for so long. I think it's better if you go back to rest. Unexpectedly, Xie Wuyin thick-skinnedly replied, Then let's have tea. I certainly can't refuse the goodwill of my life-saving benefactor. The smile on Van Tin's lips froze in place. This situation felt wrong somehow. This was clearly him coming to cause trouble. Van Tin's inner voice screamed, I beg you to refuse my goodwill. Van Tin's reluctant expression as she opened the door made her want to tell him, the road to hell is that way. Turn right, no need to see you off. But she feared saying that would lead to her own demise. Seeing the pitch-dark room, Van Tin continued her act. Oh no, I can't find any matches, so it seems we can't have tea today. But unfortunately, there was no spring for her. She was dreaming too early. Xia Wuyin just said it's fine. Then he lightly snapped his fingers, and flames burst from the lamp dishes. Van Tin's room became the brightest this night. Then Xia Wuyin calmly walked in. As Van Tin collapsed, she had to go make tea for him to drink, then sat 3 meters away, not daring to look at each other even once. Xia Wuyin suddenly inquired, I heard that recently Miss Tam was injured by the skin demon and has just recovered. Is that right? Van Tin cautiously confirmed, wondering what trick he was up to. Then he suddenly sighed. It must be these days. I hear the demon realm is in chaos. The seal is about to be broken. They're starting to show no restraint. Xia Wuyin raised his hand in the air and lightly shook it. And surprisingly, Van Tin's chair turned into Aladdin's flying carpet, bringing her directly face to face with him at this altar-like distance. Xia Wuyin flashed a bewitching smile and probed her. It seems that until this demon lord is eliminated, living beings will have no peace. Don't you think so? Van Tin was shocked when he didn't hesitate to lower himself to ask the question. But she also knew that this seemingly simple question, if not answered correctly, would result in her demise. Answering yes would anger the villain boss and send her straight to the underworld. Answering no wouldn't fit the setup of the protagonist group, who were known to flatter and please. Either way, it was difficult for her. With nothing left to lose, Van Tin answered as reluctantly as possible. I feel that whether this demon lord is killed or not, it's all the same. Anyway, I'm just a candle in the wind. One look, and I know I can't beat him. Not being killed by that little demon is already good enough. How can I worry about slaying demons and exorcising evil? Xia Wuyin's face was expressionless. You're right, you are indeed very useless. Van Tin was fuming, but thought being insulted was better than dying, so she swallowed her pride. However, I'm very curious to see how that demon lord will finally die. What do you think? Van Tin was stiff on the outside, but screaming internally, are all the characters in this novel so mentally unstable? The protagonists always praise the villains as good people, while the villains tirelessly wonder how they'll die. Never mind, let's just assume he wants to hear encouragement and praise. Van Tin gathered all her courage, grabbed his hand, and said in the most sincere voice, a high-level demon lord villain like this isn't something ordinary people like us can imagine. But if we work together, I believe evil cannot suppress justice. Xia Wuyin looked at his hand in hers, suddenly chuckled, then burst into uncontrollable laughter. While Van Tin was still confused, he stood up abruptly, nearly giving her a heart attack. Did I say something to excite him? But no, he just put his hand on her shoulder and said, Miss Tam is indeed trustworthy. If that's the case, I won't disturb you anymore. Van Tin's head was full of question marks as the villain turned to leave. Really? He's just leaving like that? It was just drinking a sip of tea and asking a few questions. How does this character setup make any sense to her brain? Never mind, she couldn't understand what he was thinking. As long as he doesn't come to torment her every night, it's fine. Van Tin then crawled back into bed and slept as if nothing had happened. After several days of gathering herbs outside, Kai Fai then finally returned. He stood outside Xintian sect and called out loudly, Junior sister, Avatar has returned. Van Tin rushed out and hugged him tightly, like clinging to the last lifeline. Kai Fai then, not understanding the situation, thought she was just being coquettish. You're so grown up now. Why are you still acting like when you were little? Did you miss me? Van Tin nodded vigorously, almost in tears with joy. You're back. I don't have to worry about that big demon head coming to disturb me in the middle of the night anymore. Kai Fai then said sternly, Van Tin, I heard that after you were seriously injured and woke up, you ran to the back of the mountain. Such a dangerous place. If a Jiao hadn't arrived in time, do you know how serious the consequences could have been? Van Tin immediately latched onto that topic. Brother Kai, you're right. Speaking of the person I rescued at the back of the mountain. But before she could finish, this fool had already gone off topic. Even if it's to save someone, you must think of your own safety first. Adao has been working very hard for you these past few days. You mustn't cause any more trouble. Van Tin said, you're the best. Everything you say is right. So, about that person I saved, Xia Wuyin, Before she could finish, Kai Fi then interrupted again, causing no small frustration. Has a Dao mentioned me while treating your wounds these past days? I've returned, but she's avoiding me. I must have hurt her deeply. The urgent matters of the human world had to be put behind his love affairs. Van Tin was so angry, she could feel her blood boiling. Back then, I risked my life to help you appease your wife, but you ignored my intentions. Now when I'm talking about important matters, you open your mouth and it's all a jow this, a jow that. Van Tin took a deep breath, trying to steer the conversation back to the main topic. Brother Kai, let's talk about that young master who was under the heart-locking spell first. I feel that she was speaking when Kai Fi then jumped in for the third time. You're right, I heard a Dao helped that young master remove the heart-locking spell. She must have expended a lot of energy. I should go check on a Dao's wound condition. A bit. Van Tin's head was spinning, unable to understand how the mission to save the world fell into the hands of these love-brained protagonists. Indeed, no matter how good the logic, it would be bent by the plot's setup. This time, Van Tin had to use strong measures to block Kai Fi then's path. Brother Kai, don't you find it strange that young Master Xie was hit by the heart-locking spell, but could still reach Xintian Pavilion without being discovered? His words can't be verified either. Isn't that very odd? I'm fine, but I'm worried that young Master Xie might have different intentions towards Xintian Pavilion or Sister Foam. If we've let a wolf into our home and she gets hurt, you'll regret it for life. Only then did Kai Fi then start to use his brain to think. You're right, your concerns are valid. I will investigate this matter thoroughly. Having said that, Kai Fi then entered the pavilion. Van Tin breathed a sigh of relief, finally able to make him listen. A while later, Van Tin ran to see how things were going. She thought that although Kai Fi then's head was full of a Dao's image, as the male lead, he was still very sharp. He would surely discover that Xie Wu Yin was problematic. Although the book didn't write about the early stages between him and Xie Wu Yin, who was stronger or weaker, from the ending, it was clear that Kai Fi then currently had the upper hand. Once he eliminated Xie Wu Yin, she could sleep soundly without worries. However, if things went that smoothly, the drama would end in the first episode. What she saw was Xie Wu Yin and Kai Fi then sitting together, playing chess and chatting animatedly. Young Master Kai's chess style is decisive yet cautious. I, Xie, feel ashamed to not be your equal. Not at all. It's you, young master, whose moves are steady and show the spirit of a righteous hero. I, Kai, am truly impressed. Van Tin watched as her worldview collapsed. This situation was beyond saving. It was time for a funeral. She couldn't understand if the plot had set the protagonist's intelligence to be eaten by dogs or what. Clearly, Kai Fi then had initially said he would investigate thoroughly, yet in no time at all, he had become best friends with Xie Wu Yin. Was this thorough investigation? Kai Fi then, after being fed some love potion by the villain, had now turned enemies into friends. He respectfully clasped his hands towards Xie Wu Yin. I heard young Master Xie encountered this calamity by chance. Your arrival today is truly fitting. How about we exorcise demons together in the future? What do you think? Xie Wu Yin politely replied, Young Master Kai is so kind. How could I refuse? From now on, let's not be so formal. We can call each other brothers. Van Tin, hiding behind a tree and peeking, had her eyes and mouth wide open in shock. This situation seems to have gone a bit too far, gentlemen. With protagonists of this caliber, no wonder they end up as a couple in the underworld. They say they're eliminating demons, but end up being respectful to the demon lord. It's truly a Vietnamese burial affair. Young Master Xie, I have a favor to ask of you. She perked up her ears to hear what they were going to discuss. Kai Fi then actually had something to ask of Xie Wu Yin. If he can't ask, then I'll slap him right away, brother. Kai Fi then continued, Young Master Xie must have heard about the masked ghost causing trouble. My little sister was injured, adding to her previous wounds. I fear I alone cannot protect her completely. Could I ask young Master Xie to accompany us, or help me protect her safely? Van Tin was shocked hearing this. Such a good thing. She'd have to decline. Whoever wants to take it can go ahead, but staying near the demon lord would make it even harder to stay alive. However, she thought this part wasn't in the original story, so Xie Wu Yin probably wouldn't agree. But who knew her amateur detective skills were too advanced? It wasn't long before Xie Wu Yin discovered her, so he took the opportunity to accept immediately to see Van Tin's reaction. Indeed, she was shocked to the point of coughing blood. Kai Fi then, unaware he was nurturing a viper in his sleeve, was still very excited. Thank you for your assistance. young master. You don't need to thank me. Miss Tam is my life-saving benefactor. The debt is as heavy as a mountain. I naturally must repay it. Van Tin on the other side was probably gasping for oxygen with this earth-shattering move. This wasn't the tone of repaying gratitude. It was clearly a death sentence and a farewell letter sent to her. Van Tin had to tiptoe away from the scene, lest she end up cold and lifeless one day. Suddenly, a figure blocked her path, and a gentle voice spoke up. "Where is Miss Tam going?" After several encounters, Van Tin saw Xie Wu Yan's face as no different from the King of Hells. She quickly moved 5 meters away. "When did you arrive?" Xie Wu Yan didn't answer, but slowly approached her. Then he gently tapped her forehead, just like a CEO with his little possessive wife. Eavesdropping again, Van Tin was extremely tense, but her brain still managed to come up with an incredibly reasonable script. "Today I ate too many flower-shaped cookies. I was taking a walk to aid digestion when I happened to see you and Brother Kai playing chess. I saw your righteous chess-playing demeanor and couldn't help but feel respect, so I stayed a bit longer. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I was simply interested in chess." Xie Wu Yan looked at her with half an eye. "You admire my interest in chess." Van Tin nodded desperately, as if her head might fall off. "All right then." Seeing him turn away, Van Tin could finally breathe a sigh of relief. However, he added another sentence. "Then I'll play a game with Miss Tam." In her head now, only the song lyrics echoed. "Oh heavens, storms and rain, save me. Oh heavens, I'm dead, oh heavens." In the end, Van Tin was still dragged into playing chess, her heart feeling like it could jump out at any moment. Xie Wu Yan invited her to sit down and play chess, but Van Tin flustered replied, "That would be too troublesome. I can't handle it." He rested his chin on his hand and smiled in response. "If it's Miss Tam, Xie, will naturally accompany you." Whether it was because of this flirtatious remark or his incredibly handsome interface, Van Tin suddenly felt a bit flustered. She froze for several seconds, not knowing what to say. She shyly scratched her chin. "I can play chess, but Go isn't the type of chess I know how to play." Xie Wu Yan said, "Then let's play the type of chess you know." However, Van Tin said, "The chess I know, young master surely doesn't." These words sounded like a challenge, making him even more interested. "Miss Tam, I'm afraid you've underestimated me." So Van Tin immediately took advantage of the villain, setting up a chessboard haphazardly and saying, "This is the game of airplane chess." Xie Wu Yan this time froze stiff, looking at the chessboard arranged in a way that made no sense. The result that day was unexpectedly successful. Van Tin walked away gleefully, smiling smugly. "Luckily, I was quick-witted and used this unfamiliar airplane chess to successfully escape from the Demon King's hands." As she was walking back to her room, suddenly from behind a strange object flew towards her, aiming straight at her when she was off guard. Just as the thing was about to attack her, unexpectedly a barrier appeared, enveloping her body. It helped her luckily avoid injury. Sensing the disturbance, Van Tin looked around cautiously. What was that noise? The bracelet she was wearing lit up. It was the magical treasure that Kai Fi then had temporarily given to protect Van Tin. It forming a protective barrier like this meant that just now a demonic creature had sneak attacked her. Van Tin searched and discovered a small oriole lying on the ground a few steps away from her. Van Tin curiously grabbed its tail to lift it up and saw that it was already unconscious. "I thought so. I felt an aura similar to the great Demon King's. Isn't this the mystical bird pet that follows him?" In the original story, it was mentioned that before Xie Wu Yan was sealed, this mystical bird was his capable subordinate. However, with his deep sleep, this mystical bird's spiritual power was also halved. Waiting until he breaks the seal, the mystical bird would then smell his aura and fly over. But this looks too much like a pigeon. Just then, Xie Wu Yan's bird woke up and then puffed up, arguing with Van Tin. "How dare you use a magical treasure, you random woman? Who are you, and why do you have my master's aura on you? Quickly tell me where he is. Let me tell you, once I recover, I'll definitely take your life. How dare weak humans like you be arrogant to my mystical bird clan?" Van Tin looked at it with an expression that said, "I'm probably so scared of you." But she quickly used a string to tie its beak shut, teaching it a lesson for chattering. Then she tied it up and carried it away. Van Tin gleefully thought, "Xie Wu Yan's pet. How could I pass up such a good opportunity?" The bird was like accidentally acted superior to the female lead, so I ended up in the pot without realizing. Unexpectedly, it encountered someone reckless. Fontaine prepared in the kitchen to put it on the chopping board. "It's like this. first I'll tell you that I'm preparing to cook you. Using bird soup to win Feng Jiaoqing's favor will definitely create a deep friendship. The bird struggled violently and then frowned, crowing, too disrespectful. Were you calling a pigeon? I am a divine bird. Vinton was like, I don't care. You're going in the pot either way. Whatever divine bird you are, before the knife, all beings are equal. You're quite lively for a pigeon. Van Tin raised the knife without mercy, chopping down and nearly hitting the bird, making it tremble. I'll let you choose. Do you want to add scallions or not? The bird was confused by this kind of gun to the head, but not shooting situation. The noble divine bird, even if I want to die, I can't die at the hands of a woman. Thinking this, it desperately used its spiritual power to escape. Vanton quickly chanted a spell to restrain it. Want to escape? Do you know how you're like a house? It's because you have no way out. The result was that this team was too much, eventually creating a chaotic scene in the kitchen with dust swirling everywhere, almost choking on the mess. Kai Fai then and Feng Jiaoqing, seeing the commotion, hurriedly kicked open the door and rushed in to inquire. Van Tin, what's going on here? Van Tin quickly hid the bird behind her and embarrassedly explained, I caught a pigeon and wanted to make soup for Sister Feng to eat. Kai Fai then wanted to scold her for being too much, but was stopped by Feng Jiaoqing. Wait, you said you're making soup for me. Van Tin nodded vigorously again. Feng Jiaoqing rolled up her sleeves and said, if so, let me help you. This surprised not only Van Tin and Kai Fai, but also left that bird dumbfounded and shocked. It was about to have psychological trauma from this situation. By the heavens, I must escape from this bizarre place. Thus, to escape from Van Tin's messy handling, Xia Wu Yan's black bird spread its wings, pushed her away to escape, but unexpectedly collided with something else. Another voice rang out, what's going on here? Seeing that the person who arrived this time was Xia Wu Yan, the bird was like meeting its true love, its eyes lighting up like car headlights. The bird was overjoyed to tears. Your Highness, it's your Highness. I am saved. This time her 80-second calamity was just beginning. Xia Wu Yan, with a face as cold as money, grabbed his own bird and brought it to Van Tin as if to question her. She could only feign ignorance and shirk all responsibility. Don't ask me. This has nothing to do with me. At this moment, Feng Jiaoqing, without anyone pressing her, revealed everything. So that's what happened. Young Master Xie, it's nothing. Miss Tam caught this pigeon and said she wanted to prepare soup for me, but unexpectedly caused such a big commotion. These words were no different from an accusation, making the Demon King look at her as if she was about to meet her doom. Van Tin flustered replied, actually, it's like this. Listen to my explanation first. Unexpectedly, Xia Wu Yin grabbed Van Tin's hand and then handed his pet to her, saying, so that's how it is. Then Miss Tam, take it. The bird, full of question marks, hurriedly sent an SOS signal to its master. Meanwhile, Van Tin was so scared she wanted to log out right away. Is he threatening me? Who would dare to cook someone's pet right in front of its owner? That bird, thinking it was being abandoned into the pot, shed tears. Your Highness, don't you remember me? Back then, I was the spirit beast fighting alongside you. Although most of the time when you were fighting, I was just taunting on the side, but between us, there's a deep bond that can't be broken. Feng Jiaoqing seemed to notice its strange gaze towards Xia Wu Yan, so she said, it seems this bird has a connection with young Master Xie. The bird, hearing an ally, desperately nodded. Kai Fai then also added, all things have spirits. If this bird has such consciousness, we shouldn't take its life. And so, in the eyes of that arrogant pigeon, he also became radiant. This great hero is a good person. Appreciating his understanding, it didn't mind being called a pigeon. Only Van Tin was disappointed because the bird was about to go into the pot but flew away, saying, so you all want me to let it go. At this moment, Xia Wu Yin intervened. How about this? He waved his hand and chanted a spell, and the ropes on the bird's body disappeared. It quickly flew over and perched on Xia Wu Yan's shoulder. It has a connection with me. Miss Tam, you don't mind letting it stay by my side, do you? Since he had said that much, Van Tin could only keep quiet, although she was feeling very bitter inside. For being set up, having achieved his goal, Xia Wu Yin turned and left. That pet bird even put on a face that couldn't be more arrogant, essentially saying, bad person, you're definitely dead. This petty, smug attitude of a dog relying on its owner's proximity made Van Tin's blood boil. Hateful. I should have known to throw this beast directly into the fire to roast. In the kitchen now, only 3 people remained. Van Tin suddenly heard someone calling her. Miss Tam, thank you for the soup. It turned out to be Feng Jiaoqing shyly speaking to her. The system unexpectedly announced that she had completed a secret mission, which was to reconcile her relationship with Feng Jiaoqing. It seems Feng Jiaoqing, though appearing cold, has a warm heart. No wonder the book describes her as someone who, no matter how many times she's deceived, remains kind as ever. Such a person is truly a demon slayer with a compassionate heart. Both Feng Jiaoqing and Kai Fai then also left, while Van Tin returned to her room in a joyful state of mind. She thought, although this time, she couldn't successfully eliminate the mystical bird, fortunately, she had broken the ice in her relationship with Feng Jiaoqing. It wasn't a total loss. That night, after Van Tin checked and closed all the main doors and windows to prevent flies from entering, she finally felt at ease to sleep. The windows and all possible entrances are tightly closed. This time, the great demon king probably won't come visiting in the middle of the night. Time to prepare for sleep. At this moment, suddenly the light in the room went out, even though there was clearly no wind. Van Tin began to feel a sense of foreboding. This familiar atmosphere and situation, could it be? Van Tin turned around while silently reciting Buddhist scriptures, hoping her guess was just an illusion. But no, the Demon King was sitting there, a huge presence right in the room, so how could she be saved now? Miss Tam, good evening. Van Tin couldn't help but scream loud enough to lift the roof. Again, well, when the enemy comes to your home, even women must fight. Van Tin put on an industrial-grade smile to welcome him. Young master, are you here for tea again tonight? He smiled meaningfully at her. No, I'm here to understand people's lives, cultivate relationships, and improve myself. Therefore, I've come especially to ask Miss Tam to teach me how to play airplane chess. Van Tin, seeing the fluctuating attitude displayed on Xie Wu Yan's interface, already didn't want to entertain him. I'd love to teach you, but first we need dice. Without dice, we can Tairo. Before she could finish speaking, Xie Wu Yan had already extended his hand, and in a flash, he had conjured a pair of dice, causing Van Tin to freeze as she thought of how to respond. That chessboard, I have to draw it myself, but there's no paper and pen here. What a pity. Xie Wu Yan at this point was no different from having Doraemon's magic pocket. He could produce anything she requested. First it was paper and pen, then 2 different colored chess pieces. Additionally, she needed a plate of braised duck and soy sauce, flower-shaped cookies, and almond-filled rice cakes. Van Tin's face darkened in fear when she saw that the patience on the Demon King's face was running out. Seeing that she couldn't stall anymore, Van Tin obediently sat down and complied. All right, actually we don't need those things. A long while later, the two of them sat playing chess in the quiet night. Xie Wu Yan raised his hand to make a move, and then happily said, "My piece has reached the goal." On Van Tin's side, she had suffered a miserable defeat, too painful to look at. She angrily threw the whole chess board away. "Every time I roll, I only get 1 point. Could this be the great Demon King's self-invented killing technique? Does he want to use this method to torture me from living comfortably to feeling like I'm suffocating?" One game after another, Van Tin had to continue playing chess, even though her eyes were already drooping. "Don't keep torturing me like this. I'd rather die outright." Finally, she couldn't overcome her sleepiness and collapsed on the table, fainting in front of Xie Wu Yan. "She clearly knows my identity, yet can sleep so peacefully like this. I thought she was someone who valued her life. Turns out it's just this much." Xie Wu Yan reached out his hand to touch Van Tin when suddenly, from the ring on his middle finger, a beam of light emerged. The light beam pointed outward and then transformed into the mystical bird that was almost cooked by Van Tin earlier, so it was very bitter. It was her who plucked my feathers, called me a pigeon, gagged me, and even wanted to cook me into soup. I want to kill her. The mystical bird was about to lunge forward to peck Van Tin, but Xie Wu Yan didn't allow it. He used a barrier to protect her, shocking the mystical bird. "Your Highness, why are you using an energy shield to protect her?" But Xie Wu Yan didn't care, only reminding it to lower its voice. He gently stroked Van Tin's hair and said, "If we wake her up, I'll have to play that boring chess game with her again." The mystical bird, seeing its master suddenly caring for someone else like this, was very bitter and shot Van Tin a bullet-like glare. Indeed, women are all troublemakers. By the way, Xie Wu Yan asked the mystical bird about its progress in recovering spiritual power. It replied that its spiritual power was dispersed during the day, but seemed to have recovered a bit. "How so?" Xie Wu Yan pondered silently. Earlier in the kitchen, the mystical bird must have accidentally swallowed some of Tam Van Tin's blood. Xia Wu Yin then tried using his magic to make a small cut on Van Tin's hand. He took a drop of her blood to examine. Suddenly, that drop of blood dissolved into thin wisps of smoke right on his palm. When Xia Wu Yin saw this, he became extremely excited. Just as I thought, it seems this woman is even more special than I imagined. The mystical bird seemed anxious. Your Highness, if that's the case, this person shouldn't be kept around for long, and especially not in the future. But Xia Wu Yin just left without paying attention to the mystical bird's words. It chirped beside him for a while. Wait, Your Highness, is she very important to you? Is that why you can't bear to kill her? He calmly replied, you can think of it that way. The mystical bird was shocked, thinking, could it be that my boss has been hooked since who knows when? In fact, Xia Wu Yin had already made calculations in his heart. Van Tin's constitution was very suitable for sword forging. Therefore, she was very important to him. That day, Van Tin was used as entertainment for the great Demon King. She was so sleepy that she unknowingly fainted on the table at some point. In her drowsy state, Van Tin suddenly saw strange scenes. A beautiful woman was holding a child, still wrapped in a blanket. In front of her was a fire pit blazing like a furnace. The woman cried extremely miserably. She kissed the tiny child in her arms and said, "You must live on." Then suddenly the surroundings were filled with burning flames, causing Van Tin to jolt awake. She realized that the scene just now was only a dream, and she had returned to her bed at some point. She recalled the fragmented images from earlier, and her head was buzzing. Were those things I saw before a dream? Although it was mentioned that the original owner had never had the intention to cultivate, she still grew up in an immortal cultivation family. When cultivators dream, besides related memories, it can also indicate the future. This must be the original memory from the original owner's body. But the original book rarely mentioned her background. It only briefly explained that she was a troublemaker for the male and female leads and quickly left the story. Thinking about it now, perhaps it wasn't that simple. Van Tin noticed the terrifying chessboard from last night and unconsciously shuddered. Just this morning, she was still yawning. She couldn't believe she really played airplane chess all night with the great Demon King. Just then, a maid came to announce, Miss Feng Jiaoqing said if you're awake, she invites you to the front hall for a meal. Hearing this, Van Tin immediately agreed. She dressed up prettily in the style of a young lady next door and ran to Feng Jiaoqing. Miss Brother Kai, I'm here. But her smile faded when she saw Xia Wu Yin sitting there like a huge presence. She froze, her inner voice screaming, why is the great Demon King here too? Kai Fi then waved, signaling her to come closer. Van Tin, why are you still dazed? Come here and sit down. Van Tin showed a bit of hesitation. In the end, she had to reluctantly come to dine with them. Seeing the great Demon King smile made her heart ache. Kai Fi then gently cared for her. Why are you still so clumsy? There's still a leaf stuck on your head. Just this embarrassing action was enough for Van Tin to realize something was wrong. Sure enough, on the other side, Feng Jiaoqing was extremely heartbroken. The situation had deteriorated considerably. Yesterday, she had finally managed to make the female lead have some goodwill towards Van Tin, but the male lead was too much. How could this be salvaged? The system displayed a notification that Feng Jiaoqing had increased her guard against the host. Van Tin was startled and quickly tried to think of something. When she looked at the oblivious Xia Wu Yin over there, she suddenly had an idea that couldn't be more daring. Despite being next to this great Demon King was like playing with a tiger, Van Tin, in the spirit of sacrificing for the greater good, decided to make a big move. She abruptly stood up, moved her chair, and sat right next to Xia Wu Yin. Then she put on an industrial-grade smile and said to him, "Young master, do you mind if I sit here?" This sudden change of hers left everyone full of question marks. Van Tin smiled awkwardly, looked at Xia Wu Yan's bird, and said, "Because I suddenly found the pigeon on young master Xia's shoulder very cute, so I wanted to sit closer to get a better look." She used her finger to try to make peace, but this mystical bird was still bitter about almost being made into soup by her, so it reacted very intensely. Van Tin used all her social skills to smooth over the situation. "It seems to like me quite a bit. In reality, if Xia Wu Yin wasn't sitting there, the two would be at each other's throats." He gently replied, "Is that so? Actually, it was Miss Tam who discovered it. If you like it, why don't you give it a name?" This statement startled not only the pigeon, but also Van Tin. She wondered if the great Demon King was really giving her face like this. She thought for a moment and came up with an idea. How about naming it Mimi? Xia Wu Yin could be seen freezing stiff on the spot, while the pigeon wanted to lunge and innovate Van Tin on the spot. Van Tin quickly ran to hide behind Feng Jiaoqing like a rain sister. Miss Feng, it seems it doesn't like the new name I gave it very much. But now I can only think of names like Mimi, Prosperous, or Dog Egg. Xia Wu Yin was also very cooperative. He let his pet arbitrarily choose a name, causing it to be so frustrated it cried a river. I am a noble mystical bird, yet I'm called Mimi by a woman. His Highness doesn't even stop her. Truly a beauty that brings disaster. Feng Jiaoqing, seeing the bullet-like gazes exchanged between the two, felt that Van Tin and Xia Wu Yin didn't seem as unfamiliar as they appeared on the surface. No wonder she hasn't been clinging to Kai Fi than lately. So finally, the female lead no longer exuded a jealous aura towards Van Tin. Van Tin noticed the female lead smile instead of the tense expression from earlier. The system also announced, "Congratulations, trial taker, you have successfully eliminated the grudge with Feng Jiaoqing. Reduced wariness. Achieved 27% trust. Keep up the good work." However, before the good news could fully arrive, bad news slapped her in the face. At this moment, the appearance of a mysterious factor could potentially bring all of Van Tin's efforts back to square one. The system suddenly issued a warning that a new member of the Spider Spirit Den. No, the male lead's Rain Sister group had appeared. It requested Van Tin to pay attention to the emotional fluctuations of the male and female leads. Van Tin heard this and knew there was trouble. Her 82nd calamity was named Qin Ziyun, the daughter of a Xintian Pavilion elder. She had just arrived and was already clinging to Kai Fi than like glue at alter speed. "Brother Kai, you've really come." This sister had just appeared and was already exuding a strong scent of vinegar towards Feng Jiaoqing. "Sister Feng is here too. I was too excited earlier and didn't see you. You won't mind, right?" Van Tin wanted to collapse at this earth-shattering move. Only Feng Jiaoqing remained calm and replied, "You're so noisy as soon as you return. Come here and sit down, Ziyun." Hearing the name Ziyun, Van Tin immediately reloaded her memory to find more information. This green tea female supporting character was the daughter of a Xintian Pavilion elder, Qin Ziyun, who grew up with Feng Jiaoqing. Her cultivation wasn't high, but she liked to cause trouble. Using the pretext of exorcising demons to cling to Kai Fi then, she actually made things difficult for Feng Jiaoqing behind her back. In the original story, it was because Kai Fi then saved her during a skin demon capture that she fell deeply in love with him. Qin Ziyin had just arrived and was already laughing loudly. "I heard that this time Brother Kai will be going down the mountain with Sister Feng to catch demons. I've already told Father that I want to go with everyone." This move, exactly like in the original plot, made Van Tin unable to swallow it. If they followed this development and brought this Cheeto along, everything would truly turn to nothing. She choked on water and coughed continuously, causing Kai Fi then to show some concern. Van Tin then said, "Miss Qin, I've heard that the skin demon's cultivation is not ordinary. Moreover, it targets young girls. I'm afraid if you participate now, you'll be easily hurt." Qin Ziyun smiled carelessly and replied, "It's fine. My father said I need more experience. Besides, Sister Feng and Brother Kai will definitely protect me." "Right." Our saint-like female lead agreed, just like that. "If it's the elder's wish, then you can come along, but remember to stay close to me and Kai Fi then." The green tea sister heard this and smiled with her eyes. Only Van Tin was worrying and calculating. Although she couldn't dissuade them, this matter wasn't unsolvable. As long as Qin Ziyin wasn't captured by the skin demon, there wouldn't be a hero saves beauty story later. Van Tin glanced secretly at Xia Wu Yin. In the original story, he had no connection to go along. With his cultivation, if he helped this time, it would be easy to catch the skin demon. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone? But unexpectedly, this little thought of hers was seen through by him right from the start. So as soon as Van Tin opened her mouth, he gave her a ticket to shut up. "Sorry, Miss Tam, but my cultivation is still lacking. I can only protect myself." Van Tin knew right away that she couldn't count on the great Demon King to show great compassion, so she could only rely on herself for happiness. Soon it was time for the group to go down the mountain to exorcise demons. Before leaving, Kai Fi then spoke first. "For this demon exorcising trip down the mountain, thank you all for coming along." Qin Ziyin quickly jumped onto the carriage. Wanting to sit with Kai Fi then, but Van Tin quickly grasped her intention and intercepted. Miss Ziyun, you're the first friend I made at Xintian Pavilion. Why don't you sit with me in the second carriage? The newly sprouted green tea was dealt with swiftly. No matter what, I can't let this Rain Sister be a third wheel for the main characters. Feng Jiaoqing curiously asked, since when did you two become so close? Ziyun originally wanted to argue, but was silenced by Van Tin to avoid ruining everything. That's right, these days Ziyun has been teaching me sword techniques for exorcising demons. Our relationship is so good, we can't be separated. Feng Jiaoqing smiled and said, if that's the case, then Ziyun should go with Van Tin. And so, while the male and female leads went in one carriage, Ziyun sat with Van Tin and Xie Wuyan. The three sat in different corners, not speaking to each other. Van Tin leisurely ate snacks while looking at Xie Wuyan's pigeon, which was staring at her with a sisterly gaze. She teased it a few times. Good Mimi, you're just a pigeon. Pigeons can't eat indiscriminately, okay? The bird was about to lunge forward, ready to have a fierce fight with her. At this moment, the great Demon King, who had been closing his eyes to focus, glanced at the snack in Van Tin's hand. She lifted it slightly and said, do you want some? The corner of Xie Wuyan's mouth curved up slightly. Without a word, he leaned close to Van Tin and bit the snack from her hand. In that brief moment, her heart seemed to beat a few times faster. Xie Wuyan turned to glance at Van Tin. At such a close distance, her cheeks suddenly turned red. If it wasn't the great Demon King in front of her, she might have just gone for it to avoid wasting the opportunity. Van Tin tried to compose herself to maintain her dignity. At this moment, the carriage suddenly jolted to a stop. Kai Fai then opened their carriage curtain and said, young Master Xie, it seems something has happened up ahead. Xie Wuyan smiled meaningfully. I'll go with you to take a look. The green tea sister, waiting for just this moment, excitedly jumped up. Brother Kai, I'll go with you too. This time, Van Tin had to step in again as a roadblock. Miss Qin, it's dangerous outside. You should stay here with me. Kai Fai then also said, that's right, Xiao Yun. You should stay in the carriage. Regardless of how disappointed the green tea sister was with Van Tin here, she definitely wouldn't let her have a chance to show her foxtail. A while later, when only the two girls were left in the carriage, Ziyun finally asked Tam Van Tin, do you like Brother Kentucky? Van Tin put on a face of an innocent deer that had just trampled a hunter to death. Why do you ask that? Seeing her act so innocently, Ziyun angrily shouted, I've heard that you pretend to be pitiful in front of Brother Kai every day, but actually, you're always trying to make things difficult for Sister Feng. Now you must be jealous of my good relationship with Brother Kai, so you're trying every way to prevent me from contacting him. Van Tin's face turned ashen as she brushed off her foul mouth. No, I absolutely don't like him. In fact, in her heart, she was screaming, as if everyone in the world is craving to cling to your Brother Kai, who's not even third-rate shit but thinks he's first-class chocolate. Miss, I'm only worried that you'll affect the progress of the mission. Ziyun crossed her arms and said, not liking him. Even ghosts wouldn't believe you. Wait a bit, I'll tell Sister Feng and expose your true face. Van Tin forced an awkward smile. Miss Qin, you misunderstand. Actually, I already have someone I like. Indeed, Van Tin had to face the consequences of this slip of the tongue. Ziyun immediately asked, who is the person you like? Van Tin froze for several seconds. Since transmigrating into the book until now, she only knew a few people, so she didn't know who to use as a shield. At this moment, her brain suddenly flashed the name Xie Wuyan. After all, a supporting male character is like a brick. You can place it wherever needed. Moreover, he wasn't here now, so he wouldn't hear. Thinking this, Van Tin smiled with great confidence and decisively said she liked Xie Wuyan. Just then, someone asked, is what you said true? Van Tin nodded without hesitation. After 3 seconds of reloading, Van Tin realized something was wrong. Wait, this voice is... When she turned, the great Demon King's face was already close to hers. At this point, she knew she was in deep trouble. Xie Wuyan, seeing her freeze stiff like that, smiled and asked, why aren't you saying anything more? Van Tin, face flushed with embarrassment, thought to herself, he must know I'm lying and is deliberately not letting me escape. Kunman. She pushed him away and used her incredible acting skills to make him forget the thoughtless words she had just said. Young Master Xie, please don't tease me anymore. I'm still young. My words can't be taken seriously. Ziyun, who had been a third wheel in the corner, spoke up, you're not young anymore. You're already 18. At this age, girls from ordinary families, are already married with children. Xia Wuyin also chimed in, making Van Tin unbearably bitter. Qin Ziyan, can you keep your mouth shut while eating melon? And so, from that day on, Xia Wuyan's gaze towards her was no longer as normal as before. Every time their eyes met, she would blush furiously, feeling extremely awkward. Kai Fai then, watching from outside, saw the amorous gazes between the two and didn't understand anything at all. While the carriage was moving, Xia Wuyin sat closer and put his arm around Van Tin, making her shiver all over. Miss Tam, don't you have anything to say to me? Van Tin was too embarrassed, but having started this, she had to follow through. But a young lady like her also needed to have some dignity. Following such a principle of shame at this point would only lead to throwing Van Tin away. She thought miserably, this is truly riding a tiger and finding it hard to get off. This move was wrong. Can I take it back? Now, whenever this great demon king looked at her with intimate eyes, specifically, every man for himself, Van Tin took a deep breath to say words contrary to her heart. If that's the case, I'll admit that I truly admire young Master Xie. Well, having already played foolishly, might as well go all the way. Van Tin faced Xie Wuyin directly. After hearing those words, his face remained cold as money, without any expression. Just when she thought her words had dazed him, he let out a mocking laugh. Van Tin shuddered inwardly, thinking this isn't good. The villain Xie Wuyin never acts according to common sense. He might very well ambush the male lead, conveniently torment me, and agree to this relationship. This time, it's really over. Van Tin hurriedly pulled his sleeve to persuade him. Wait, young Master Xie, can you reconsider? After all, this is a life-changing matter for us. Ziyun beside them became an unwilling melon-eating spectator, only able to sit and watch in awe at this melodramatic scene. Unfortunately, Xie Wuyin didn't give her any face, bluntly shaking off Van Tin's hand and saying, I, Xie, refuse. Van Tin heard this and finally felt the heavy stone in her heart lift. How wonderful. I didn't expect the villain to be so understanding of people's hearts. From now on, you're the only one I'll respect on the streets. Xie Wuyin thought to himself. I originally intended to tease her a bit, didn't expect her to be so afraid. Women's trivial matters are truly boring. But Van Tin's act wasn't entirely useless. The supporting female character Ziyun now looked at her with sympathetic eyes. She even whispered to her, It's okay, Miss Tam, I'll keep this secret for you. This statement made Van Tin nearly choke on her snack, reluctantly thanking her. After a long period of shaking in the carriage, they finally stopped at a small town. Van Tin stretched and sighed, saying, We've finally arrived. As soon as the carriage stopped, Ziyun bolted out to find her brother Kai. When Van Tin stepped out of the carriage, she saw Ziyun huddled with Feng Jiaoqing and Kai Fai then, talking about something. It was clear they weren't discussing anything good. So much for keeping secrets. Kai Fai then, after hearing it, was extremely shocked and turned to her, saying, Van Tin, is what Xiaoyan said true? Have you forgotten the family rules of the Kai household? Who taught you, a young lady, to force a man into marriage? Van Tin was completely confused, not understanding what was happening. Wait, forced marriage? Who's forcing whom to marry? It seemed she had now realized who the culprit behind this earth-shattering incident was. Unexpectedly, the green tea supporting female character had another talent. Being a gossip, Van Tin felt her blood rush to her head. All right, I know women's tongues can't be trusted. In just a moment, it's been exaggerated into such an outrageous version. She shouted, Qin Ziyan, you stop right there. A few peaceful days passed. Soon, one evening arrived. Van Tin sat with her chin in her hand, gazing at the street scenery. She thought to herself, it seems my transmigration has caused a butterfly effect. According to the book script, the male and female lead should have had a conflict over breaking off their engagement. The Xintian pavilion and the Kai family would have had a disagreement, so Kai Fai then couldn't immediately go to eliminate the demon. But now, because I didn't interfere, the plan to eliminate the demon is happening much earlier than in the original story. And the skin demon still had some demonic energy left on me. Until now, it hasn't been lured out. Only the number of victims is increasing. In just a few short days, 3 people have died already. At this moment, Ziyin spoke up. What's going on? Could it be that the skin demon has found better prey and given up on her? Feng Jiaoqing immediately refuted. Ziyun, don't talk nonsense. The skin demon is delayed in coming. Innocent people continue to die. We really can't sit idle. Theoretically, when I treated Miss Tam, I deliberately left a bit of demonic energy as bait. Feng Jiaoqing's words suddenly gave Van Tin an idea. Wait, demonic energy. I understand now. When the demon hunting plot began in the original story, the skin demon's power had made a big breakthrough, so it could sense the demonic energy on me. But now everything is happening earlier. It's very likely that the skin demon hasn't had time to break through its realm. Additionally, the magical treasure bracelet I'm wearing might be concealing the demonic energy. So, now, besides waiting for the skin demon to come to us, we can only wait for it to drink cultivator's blood to improve its cultivation. Van Tin turned to look at the Rain sister Ziyun. Isn't she the perfect target? Indeed, at this moment, the system sounded a danger warning. Important supporting character Qin Ziyun may be in danger at any time. To avoid changing the main plot, please quickly assist in completing the mission to catch the demon. Van Tin could only sigh in exasperation. Sure enough, if the skin demon attacks Qin Ziyun, it's inevitable that a hero saves beauty situation will occur. Van Tin approached Feng Jiaoqing and Kai Fai then. She took off the magical bracelet she was wearing and said, I just thought, it's very possible that the magical treasure has been concealing the demonic energy on me, so the skin demon can't sense it. Let's try again tonight. Feng Jiaoqing worriedly said, but Van Tin, if you don't keep the magical treasure on you, if we don't arrive in time, it will be dangerous. Van Tin smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, you'll make it in time. Downstairs, the tavern was still full of customers eating and chatting. Kai Fai then observed the people around very carefully. Everything seemed normal. He turned to Feng Jiaoqing and asked, by the way, where's young Master Xie? She replied, I called him, but he seems to be unwell due to the lingering effects of the heart-locking spell. He's resting upstairs. Van Tin heard this and couldn't swallow it. What do you mean unwell? This word just doesn't fit the great demon king Xie Wuyin. Usually, when a villain says this, there's an 80% chance they're secretly up to something. When the supporting female Ziyun came down to join Van Tin's group, she suddenly felt something was off. All the guests sitting here were strangely motionless. She approached and sat down next to Van Tin, asking what's going on. Why is there no movement at all? Feng Jiaoqing picked up some food for her and said eat. Even Kai Fai then was unusually quiet today. Van Tin found it strange. Usually during meals, the couple Kai Fai then and Feng Jiaoqing would lovingly inquire about each other. But now it was too quiet, as if they were deliberately pretending. Van Tin involuntarily felt a chill down her spine. She shifted her attention to the surrounding tables. No one was looking at them either. They were like a group of uniformed paper people. They had been set up with roles, so they had no movements other than those that had been established. At the same time, Xie Wuyin was sitting alone in his room, focusing. Suddenly, the mystical bird on his shoulder discovered something and called out in warning. He looked over. The candle in the room was flickering, swayed by the wind. Downstairs, the innkeeper cheerfully brought wine to Van Tin and said, Here it is. Here's the wine you guests requested. As he set the wine on the table, both Feng Jiaoqing and Kai Fai then remained motionless and silent. Only Van Tin spoke up. Wait, the innkeeper asked, does the guest have any other requests? Van Tin spoke while reaching behind her head, seemingly adjusting her hair, but actually wanted to take something out, add one more thing. Let me think. While the innkeeper wasn't paying attention, she quickly pulled a hairpin from her hair, using all her strength to aim it straight at him. Ziyin was startled by this scene, but when she calmed down, she realized something was off. Clearly, the innkeeper was wounded by the hairpin, but no blood flowed out. At this point, Kai Fai then also stopped pretending and warned everyone to step back. They could clearly see the skin on the innkeeper's face starting to peel off. All the other people were looking at Van Tin's group with terrifying faces. Van Tin knew they were in trouble. She had planned to wait, but unexpectedly, she was the one who fell into the trap. This and was completely devoid of living people. Those present earlier had been killed. The skin demon that previously attacked Van Tin alone now appeared as a group of skin demons. Indeed, the plot had started to deviate. At this moment, the waiter suddenly lunged towards Kai Fai Then. He quickly dodged and swung his sword to counterattack. They were surrounded by skin demons. Qin Ziyun, The weakest trembled at the sight. Tam Van Tin, holding talismans in her hand, broke out in a sweat, thinking, with skin demons like these, prolonging this will be problematic. We must act quickly. At this moment, she suddenly turned to look upstairs. Xia Wu Yan's room was still quiet, with nothing happening. She silently thought, Xia Wu Yan. In Xia Wu Yan's room, a male-skinned demon quickly opened the door and entered stiffly. He remained calmly seated, holding an apple in his hand. The mystical bird was flying around him. Seeing the male demon enter, he gripped the apple tightly and stared at him with an imposing gaze. The male demon immediately wilted. His face panicked and trembled. Then he quickly turned away, as if this encounter had never happened, and fled quickly. The male demon's footsteps were very hurried, accompanied by rapid, thumping sounds. The mystical bird, seeing this, praised as expected of your highness. Not only did you realize early on that there were no living people in this inn, but at first glance, you could also detect the skin demons, a type of demon good at concealing their aura. Xia Wu Yin coldly crossed his arms and responded with a ha. He quickly moved to the door with the mystical bird to observe the situation downstairs. Xia Wu Yin looked at Kai Fai, Van, and Feng Jiaoqing, who were quickly attacking the demons. These skin demons weren't highly cultivated, but their large numbers made them difficult to deal with. Kai Fai, Van, and Feng Jiaoqing could handle them without much problem. He glanced over at Tam Van Tin and Qin Ziyun, assessing the two. Tam Van Tin was holding talismans tightly, observing her surroundings. Qin Ziyun was holding her sword, trembling. She turned pale. Her voice panicked as she looked at Kai Fai, then weakly, seeking protection, softly calling, Brother Kentucky. In response, she received a strong chop to the back of her neck. From Tam Van Tin, very decisively. Qin Ziyun fainted on the spot. Van Tin quickly caught her, thinking, sorry, Miss Qin. In the midst of battle, I can't let you distract Kai Fai then anymore. So Tam Van Tin, with a guilty expression, sat down and with cruel hands quickly stuffed the unconscious Qin Ziyun under a chair. Above, Xia Wu Yin saw everything and covered his mouth, chuckling softly. The mystical bird turned to look at him curiously and asked, Your Highness, why aren't we going down to help? If you want to gain their trust, now would be a good opportunity. In response, Xia Wu Yin leisurely covered his mouth, yawning sleepily. He feigned weariness, stretching his arms and closing his eyes tightly, saying, Too tired. Don't want to move. Let's wait until they're almost done fighting. Hearing this, the mystical bird's face showed helplessness, thinking it was such a casual excuse. Meanwhile, below, Van Tin, having just finished her misdeed, sighed in relief. Suddenly, a hazy shadow approached her. A ghostly hand from that shadow reached out, appearing from thin air. It was a pair of hands with sharp, pointed claws. Tam Van Tin glanced and saw it, suddenly freezing and backing away in fear, thinking, I'm dead, I didn't bring the magical treasure. That hand quickly extended, wanting to attack her. On the other side, Kai Fai then quickly noticed. He urgently and frantically shouted, Hurry. Upstairs, Xia Wu Yan's eyes flew open, glancing with a sharp gaze. Suddenly, a loud explosion rang out. Smoke and dust filled the air, accompanied by flames attacking the ghostly shadow. A moment later, Tam Van Tin slowly opened her eyes to see the ghostly shadow had disappeared, and she was safely nestled in Xia Wu Yan's arms. Xia Wu Yan was in a position with one arm holding her, and the other still in an attacking stance. Tam Van Tin looked up at him, blushing, and said, Thank you. Xia Wu Yan was still upstairs. The Xia Wu Yan who had just been lazily leaning against the wall with crossed arms had disappeared. The mystical bird's face showed confusion, thinking, didn't His Highness just say he was tired? Meanwhile, Xia Wu Yan, with a cold expression, reached out his hand and crushed the air. The skin demon's shadow jerked and trembled in fear before him. Feng Jiaoqing looked over hesitantly and said, Brother Xia. Feng Jiaoqing's eyes were full of suspicion. In her heart, she was confused, thinking, could he really just be a simple demon-catching sorcerer? Taking advantage of the demon's panic, Kai Fai then waved his hand, thinking, good opportunity. Talismans from his hand quickly flew out, sticking directly onto their foreheads. The sound of rustling continued incessantly. Next, the skin demons gradually became surrounded by a green smoke in front of him and Tam Van Tin. At this moment, the mystical bird flew to his side and reminded him, Master, you must be careful. You just displayed abilities that might make them suspicious of you. Xia Wuyin glanced at the mystical bird. The spiritual energy in his palm quickly withdrew, concealing his power. Tam Vanton was still confused, thinking, was it the great demon king who just saved me? At this moment, Xia Wuyin raised his hand to cover his mouth. Blood flowed from between his fingers. His mouth emitted a dry cough, his whole body appearing extremely weak. Tam Vanton looked over worriedly and called out, "Hey." Suddenly, Xia Wuyin collapsed. His eyes closed tightly, unable to stand steady anymore. Tam Vanton quickly reached out to grab his shoulders with a panicked expression. Her hand touched a blood stain. She was shocked to see the blood on her palm and shouted, "Young Master Xia." Seeing Xia Wuyin faint, Feng Jiaoqing worriedly shouted, "Young Master Xia." She hurriedly ran over to check on Xia Wuyin's condition, wondering why he had fainted. Meanwhile, Kai Fai then had just finished dealing with the corpse demons. He quickly sheathed his sword and said, "Quickly, let's take young Master Xia to the guest room upstairs." Hearing this, the two of them supported Xia Wuyin up to the second floor. They laid Xia Wuyin on the bed. Feng Jiaoqing pulled up the blanket to cover Xia Wuyin. Then she discovered blood-red spell marks on his body. The ones that had been eliminated before had appeared again. The blood lines continuously spread across his entire body, constantly moving. Feng Jiaoqing frowned, thinking to herself, it's due to the heart-locking curse acting up. This type of spell, as long as the person under the spell uses their power, will cause an equivalent backlash. Although I had temporarily controlled it before, it still needed more rest. But because his spiritual energy fluctuated too strongly earlier, the spell was stimulated again. Tam Vanton's initial worry and panic now turned to doubt, as if she couldn't believe it. Feng Jiaoqing raised her hand, activating her spiritual power to treat Xia Wuyin, explaining, young Master Xia probably didn't want to affect us at that time, so he kept quiet about this. But he didn't expect it would backlash so severely. Hearing this, Kai Fai then blamed himself, closing his eyes and saying, it's all due to my carelessness. If I had discovered the In's abnormality earlier, young Master Xia wouldn't have been implicated. Seeing Kai Fai then blaming himself, Feng Jiaoqing quickly comforted him, gently saying, don't worry, I've already used my spiritual power to suppress the spread of the heart-locking curse. It's alright, this isn't your fault. Tam Vanton glanced at Xia Wuyin lying on the bed. She rested her chin on her hand, her face full of doubt, feeling strange. The mystical bird standing at the head of the bed was rarely this quiet. It was indeed strange. She thought that with the great demon king's strength, he shouldn't have difficulties in this battle, and his body shouldn't be this weak. A moment later, Feng Jiaoqing withdrew her spiritual power, raised her hand to wipe her sweat, and said, all right, we've just finished fighting. You've all had a tough day. Go rest first, let me take care of him. Hearing this, Tam Vanton immediately pointed at herself and said, Sister Feng, let me do it. Young Master Xia's condition has improved a lot now. He might wake up soon. Let me take care of young Master Xia. You two go rest. Hearing Tam Vanton say this, both of them were stunned. Tam Vanton exuded confident radiance as she looked at the two of them and added, young Master Xia was injured because of me, so it's only natural that I should take care of him. On the surface, it was like this, but in Tam Vanton's heart, it was different. I'll take this opportunity to check if this great demon king is really sick or just pretending. Vanton, Kai Fai then was about to say something, but was pulled back by Feng Jiaoqing. Then, as if thinking of something, she smiled meaningfully at Kai Fai then and said, all right then, we'll leave it to you. We'll be in the room next door. If anything happens, you can call us anytime. Tam Vanton watched the two leave. As soon as the door closed, the mystical bird standing at the head of the bed suddenly burst into tears. Boo-hoo-hoo, master. My poor master. You're truly so moving. You even risked your life to save someone. Not at all like certain cruel-hearted women who scream for their lives at the slightest thing. I will forever remember your heroic actions today. Hearing this, Xia Wuyin frowned, unable to contain his anger anymore. Tam Vanton crossed her arms and glanced at this master-servant pair from top to bottom. Then she keenly noticed that Xia Wuyin, still lying on the bed with his eyes tightly shut, now had slightly trembling eyelids. It seemed he was about to lose his patience. She laughed inwardly. Well done. This spirit pet is truly a waste to raise. It turned around and betrayed the great demon king. But it's good that he's pretending. Otherwise, I'd really have a hard time avoiding responsibility. Knowing Xia Wu Yin was safe and sound, she felt extremely relieved and let out a long sigh. Then she picked up a bowl of medicine and brought it over. She held the bowl, stirring the medicine while saying, "Hey, young Master Xia, wake up and take your medicine." But he didn't react at all. "All right, you can't move, right?" She looked at the medicine bowl in her hand, thinking about how to feed him the medicine. Tam Van Tin muttered to herself, pretending to be so enthusiastic, huh? Without a word, she helped Xia Wu Yin sit up, leaning against her shoulder. She used a spoon to scoop up some medicine, then brought it to his lips. Xia Wu Yin still had no reaction, his lips tightly closed. Tam Van Tin tried many positions, struggling for a long time, and finally felt tired and angry to the point of fuming. She pointed at him and said, "All right, if young Master Xia won't cooperate, I only have one last option." Then Tam Van Tin scooped up a spoonful of medicine and held it in her mouth. The mystical bird, seeing this, asked in shock, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" It immediately flew up, using its small body to block her. "What are you planning to do? How can you touch His Highness like that?" Tam Van Tin completely ignored the mystical bird as if it were air. Just as she was about to touch Xia Wu Yan's lips, her chin was held back, gripped by a cold hand. She saw Xia Wu Yan prop himself up and ask her, "Do you really dare to put anything in your mouth like that?" Tam Van Tin hadn't even had time to react before accidentally swallowing the medicine. She held her throat with both hands, stuck out her tongue, and turned pale, complaining, "So bitter. How can this medicine be so bitter?" Xia Wu Yin just snorted coldly. Then he straightened his clothes and sat up. Tam Van Tin had long known that Xia Wu Yin was pretending, because in the original story, he often used this trick many times, deliberately pretending to be injured while saving people to make Feng Jiaoqing both admire and feel heartbroken for him. Even when she was later kidnapped by him and imprisoned in the demon realm for over a year, she still believed he could turn from evil to good. This clearly shows that just this much was enough to prove how skilled Xia Wu Yin was at pretending and how formidable he was. Now, Xia Wu Yin was fully dressed and stepping down from the bed. Tam Van Tin kept holding the medicine bowl, following him like a tail, saying, "Young Master Xia, don't be so stubborn. Your wound needs medicine to heal." She clearly knew he wasn't injured, but stubbornly carried the medicine bowl, following him like a tail. Xia Wu Yin suddenly stopped. Tam Van Tin couldn't stop in time and bumped into him. Ouch! She couldn't react in time and was about to fall backward unsteadily. Xia Wu Yin quickly turned around and grabbed Tam Van Tin's waist, coldly saying, "Do you think I'm very patient with you?" Tam Van Tin looked at his face at such close distance and blushed. But then she regained her composure, raised the medicine bowl in her hand, and offered it to him, saying, "If you drink it, I won't follow you anymore." They looked at each other for a while. He lowered his eyes and stared at Tam Van Tin. With Tam Van Tin's stubborn face, she also refused to give in and looked straight back at him. After who knows how long, Xia Wu Yin was finally defeated first. He snatched the bowl from Tam Van Tin's hand. Then he raised it to his mouth and drank it all in one go. Afterward, he coldly handed the bowl back and asked, "Are you satisfied now?" Then he turned and left. The mystical bird also flew out after him. She stared blankly after them. Tam Van Tin didn't know why Xia Wu Yin had acted like that. It was really puzzling. No wonder in the original story, he was described as moody. Normally, he seemed gentle, kind, and harmless to others. But in reality, he was extremely cruel and ruthless to those who knew him well. Therefore, she didn't pay much attention to it and sighed in relief. But fortunately, he hurt himself because he was pretending. Tam Van Tin thought to herself, "If someone really died to save me, I would regret it for the rest of my life." Then Tam Van Tin clenched her fist to reassure herself and resolved, moreover, "Now that I'm here, I can't continue to just sit around idly, hoping that whenever I'm in danger, someone will come to save me. I must become stronger." When it was dark and the moon was high, Tam Van Tin went downstairs, looking around for Xia Wu Yin. But after going around, she still couldn't see any sign of him. Strange, where did the great demon king go? Suddenly, she heard voices coming from somewhere. She went over and discovered a window. She pushed the window open and looked through. Then her eyes widened in surprise. It was none other than Xie Wu Yin standing with Feng Jiaoqing, under the cool moonlight piercing through the clouds, shining through the tree leaves onto them. They looked extremely harmonious and beautiful together. They seemed to be saying something. Xie Wu Yin was smiling. Even his eyes were very gentle. Tam Van Tin was shocked seeing this scene. She unconsciously covered her mouth and squatted down in fear. What is he doing with Feng Jiaoqing in the backyard? Then she calmed down and peeked out again, thinking at first, I was a bit grateful because he saved me. But now he turns around and secretly flirts with the female lead. Meanwhile, Feng Jiaoqing was saying to Xie Wu Yin, young Master Xie is injured. It's windy now, don't stay out here in the cold wind anymore. Quickly go inside. Xie Wu Yin also pretended to be weak and said, initially, I promised young Master Kai to stay here and help everyone. Unexpectedly, now I've become a burden to everyone. Feng Jiaoqing couldn't bear his self-blame. Her voice also had some guilt. This isn't your fault. You didn't mind your old wound and save people from danger. I admire you from the bottom of my heart. Why say you're a burden? Tam Van Tin, hiding under the window, frowned and admired Xie Wu Yan's acting. You just keep pretending. At this moment, the system spoke up. System notice. The main villain and female lead are alone together. Please respond quickly. Trial taker. Hearing this, Tam Van Tin couldn't help but turn pale, her eyes widening in panic. Want me to respond? How? Helping the male lead stop these supporting characters is fine, but how can I control this great demon king? Her muttering caught Xie Wu Yan's attention, and he discovered her inside the room. The corner of his mouth curved into a smile. His fingers behind his back quietly cast a spell. Tam Van Tin was thinking of a way to deal with the situation when a leaf suddenly flew up to her nose. Then she sneezed very loudly. Feng Jiaoqing immediately became alert and asked, who's there? Tam Van Tin awkwardly stood up and greeted Sister Feng. It's me. Feng Jiaoqing saw it was Tam Van Tin and asked, Van Tin, why are you here? Tam Van Tin was momentarily speechless, scratching her head and smiling awkwardly. Oh well, Tam Van Tin frowned angrily, thinking never mind. I must stop the great demon king and female lead from being alone. I can only sacrifice myself. She pretended to admire Xie Wu Yin and squeezed between them, saying, actually, Van Tin was looking for Brother Xie. I was worried something happened to him. If he's with Sister Feng, then I'm relieved. Seeing Tam Van Tin like this, Feng Jiaoqing smiled slightly, thinking, I heard from Ziyun earlier that she admires young Master Xie. We're all women. Of course we understand each other. So Feng Jiaoqing nodded and replied, I understand. Then Feng Jiaoqing quickly stepped to Tam Van Tin's side, smiling and patting her shoulder, saying, since you're here, I'll leave young Master Xie in your care then. After saying this, she turned and left immediately. Watching Feng Jiaoqing's hurried departing figure, Tam Van Tin panicked, feeling something was a bit off. Hey, isn't this expression of hers misunderstanding something again? She turned to cautiously look at the great demon king and caught him chuckling. But unexpectedly, a second ago he was chuckling, and a second later, he quickly changed his expression. Now he looked stern and cold, exuding a gloomy, killing intent as he looked down at her and asked tensely, is that so? What's wrong? Are you afraid I'll be unhappy and kill her? Xie Wu Yin said coldly, are you afraid I'll kill her? Tam Van Tin turned her head away, not daring to look at him, and said, I don't understand what you're saying. Xie Wu Yin stepped up from behind, one hand gripping her neck, the other holding her hand tightly, and said, if I kill her, shouldn't you be happy? Tam Van Tin looked at him in horror, her head tilted back, thinking, why did he come to such a conclusion? Should I tell him that I actually came to stop him from being the third wheel? She imagined his hand moving faster than her words and quickly reconsidered. Never mind, I might not even finish speaking before my neck is snapped. Tam Van Tin, sweating profusely, tried to turn and look at him, explaining it's like this. You're overthinking. I was just worried that if Brother Kai saw, he might misunderstand something. Xie Wu Yin stared at her, repeating Brother Kai. Then he moved closer to her and continued, you really love everything about him. After saying this, he gently released her. He turned decisively and left. Tam Van Tin touched her chin, pondering and muttering to herself. Why does he think I want Feng Jiaoqing to die? Clearly, if Feng Jiaoqing dies, I'll die too. Thinking of this, she suddenly panicked. Could it be that he really believed Qin Ziyun's words? Thinking that I wholeheartedly love Kai Fai then the situation is a bit complicated. In her mind, she formed a chain of relationships between them. The male and female leads think the supporting female likes the supporting male. The supporting male thinks the supporting female likes the male lead. The supporting female knows that later the supporting male will definitely like the female lead. Tam Van Tin clutched her head and shouted, "No, I must explain to Xie Wu Yin that I don't like Kai Fai then." In the quiet night, Tam Van Tin decided to quickly run and explain. At this moment, behind her, a gloomy aura appeared, as if wanting to swallow her whole. Her footsteps were suddenly restrained. Unable to move, Tam Van Tin glanced back worriedly, feeling a chill down her spine. Could it be? A gloomy voice echoed. "It's this breath." The gloomy aura quickly materialized into a ghostly figure. Sharp claws quickly caressed her face. The ghost's face pressed close. Its eyes glowed red, overflowing with bloodthirst and desire. The gloomy voice spoke again. "Do you know how long I've been waiting for you?" The ghostly figure pressed closer and closer to her. Tam Van Tin, tears streaming down her face, thought to herself, it must be her. The skin demon that escaped from Kai Fai Than's hands. The skin demon continued. "First, let her companions exhaust that pair of partners. Wait until they think we've been eliminated and can't return. That's the best time to strike." Tam Van Tin sighed. "They're quite clever. But anyway, they've underestimated Kai Fai Than. With his strength, he'll surely quickly realize something's amiss." The ghostly figure suddenly used its claws to scratch hard at her neck. Tam Van Tin groaned in pain. The skin demon said coldly, "Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You think I'm afraid of the cultivators with you." Fresh blood quickly gushed out, splattering on her face. Tam Van Tin was in pain, tears falling nonstop, thinking, it hurts so much. The skin demon's voice was full of desire. "As long as I devour your flesh and blood, even if there were 1,000 or 10,000 Kai Fai Thants, they couldn't stop me." Hearing this, Tam Van Tin panicked and tried to turn her head back, saying, "What do you mean?" Her heart raced as she thought, strange, why is this skin demon so persistent with me? Could it be not because I'm beautiful, but for some other reason? A loud scream rang out. The skin demon said gloomily, "Accept your fate. Even if it's not me, you'll become a sacrifice. For other demons anyway." Tam Van Tin's vision darkened as she pondered. A sacrifice. Tam Van Tin fainted into a dream. A woman held a baby in diapers. Her tears flowed as she gently kissed the sleeping baby's cheek and whispered, "My dear child, don't become a sacrifice for anyone." After saying this, she placed the baby in a safe place. She quickly grabbed a knife and slashed her wrist. Blood quickly gushed out around the baby. The woman gently continued, "This is a protective charm. Remember, you must live honorably. Live on with your head held high." Tam Van Tin suddenly opened her eyes wide. Her eyes were tinged with bright red. She let out a painful scream. The skin demon scratched Tam Van Tin, making her cry out in pain. The scratch tore the front of her clothes, revealing drops of bright red blood. The skin demon gleefully covered its mouth and laughed with pleasure. The pain made Tam Van Tin lose her balance and fall painfully to the ground. Her whole body trembled, unable to speak. The skin demon continued to use its characteristic bewitching voice to whisper to her, "It's no use. It's just the struggle in your death throes. It can't reduce your pain at all." Tam Van Tin was stunned upon hearing this. She cried desperately. But just as she raised her sleeve to wipe her tears, she felt something was off. As soon as she lowered her sleeve and looked, she saw Xie Wu Yin standing in front of her. His hand had pierced through the skin demon's body. He slightly twisted inside, causing the skin demon to feel pain. It unwillingly said, "How can you? You're not from Xiantian Pavilion. This is demonic power." Xie Wu Yin looked sternly at the skin demon with eyes full of killing intent. He questioned, "Who gave you permission to touch what's mine?" He had just reached out his hand to give it a strike, when the skin demon, terrified, dispersed into many soul fragments. Then it quickly fled out the door and disappeared. Xie Wu Yin saw this and smiled happily. Suddenly, Tam Van Tin asked curiously, "You're not going to chase after it?" Xie Wu Yin coldly said, "Well, let's just consider you as a sacrifice then." Tam Van Tin was shocked when she heard him say this. A sacrifice. She slowly recalled what Xia Wu Yin had said to her before. Accept your fate. Even if it's not me, you'll become a sacrifice for other demons. Tam Van Tin thought to herself, the reason Xia Wu Yin hasn't touched me is because of this body's special constitution. Does he also want to turn me into his sacrifice? Xia Wu Yin narrowed his eyes at her. Tam Van Tin also looked straight into his eyes. But strangely, she couldn't see through him. She couldn't read anything at all. She had no idea what he was thinking. Tam Van Tin coquettishly reached out her hand and asked, since you've saved me, might as well go all the way. Help me up, please. Xia Wu Yin just stared at her intently and remained silent. Seeing him so heartless, she silently cursed him, this bastard. Just as she was about to withdraw her hand and stand up on her own, Xia Wu Yin decided to grab her hand and pull her up. Tam Van Tin was surprised, her eyes widening. He even embraced her in his arms, then carried her like a princess. He looked at her coldly. She stared at him with wide eyes. Finally, feeling embarrassed, she pretended to cry out in pain, to hide her awkwardness. She also took the opportunity to turn her face away. Xia Wu Yin asked her with concern. Then Tam Van Tin, with tears in her eyes, said, thank you. Unexpectedly, his annoying, teasing nature returned. Indeed, a leopard can't change its spots. He coldly turned his face away, pretending not to care. Then be in pain. You should learn a lesson. She could only pout and criticize this hateful man. Suddenly, she felt a healing energy flow through her body. It seemed the pain had subsided a bit. She happily thought to herself, it seems that although they're both demons, the great demon king's treatment of his food is much gentler than that skin demon. Xia Wu Yin carried Tam Van Tin outside. Tam Van Tin smiled and said to him, thank you. Tam Van Tin's words made Xia Wu Yin pause. He asked her back, you're thanking me. Tam Van Tin maintained her smile and replied, that's right. Xia Wu Yin coldly said, there's nothing to thank for. Then he wondered, but how did you know I wouldn't kill you? Tam Van Tin decisively answered, I really didn't know that. But let's take things as they come. Tam Van Tin's smile was even brighter than before. Good or bad, you're still the benefactor who has saved me twice. Saying thank you is still necessary. Moreover, I can't beat you anyway. If you want to kill me in the future, I'll be helpless. After hearing this, Xia Wu Yin nodded and said, that's right. Tam Van Tin quickly explained, wait, this doesn't mean I want to die. If you really want to kill me in the future, please give me a heads up so I can struggle for a while. Xia Wu Yin teased to reassure her. However, this joke didn't seem very funny. Don't worry, an interesting person like you is more useful alive than dead. Hearing this, Tam Van Tin thought to herself, I see. Over the past few days, I've seen clearly. If Xia Wu Yin and Kai Fai then really fought, even 10 Kai Fai that wouldn't be enough for him to play with. She made a plan in her head. Rather than having him exposed now and turn to kill the male and female leads, it's better to let him continue with his demon hunter identity. Wait for the protagonist to level up, then continue with the plan later. Tam Van Tin smiled and assured Xia Wu Yin, don't worry. I absolutely won't betray you. I'll protect your identity well and not let others discover it. Hearing this, Xia Wu Yin smirked and snorted. Finally, he still brought her back to Kai Fai Then and Feng Jiaoqing. The two of them were startled when they saw Xia Wu Yin carrying her back. They rushed over, but didn't know what to say. Xia Wu Yin slowly put her down. His sleeves were stained with blood. Seeing this, Kai Fai then worriedly called her name, Van Tin. Kai Fai then said guiltily, I arrived too late. Hearing this, Tam Van Tin teased him, you didn't just arrive late. If you had run a bit slower, there wouldn't even be a corpse left. Feng Jiaoqing placed her hand on her shoulder to check. Then she blamed herself, it's my fault. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left you there. Feng Jiaoqing helped her to bed to rest. Meanwhile, Kai Fai then suddenly knelt down, clasped his hands, and thanked Xia Wu Yin. Thank you, young Master Xia, for saving my little sister. Fai then will never forget this kindness. Tam Van Tin was very touched to see Kai Fai then do this for her. She thought to herself, although I transmigrated here, and my interactions with Kai Fai then and Feng Jiaoqing are just to complete the mission, Kai Fai then seems to treat me like his own little sister. While Tam Van Tin was lost in her thoughts, Feng Jiaoqing had already started treating her. As she worked, she said, the compass shows nothing unusual. We underestimated the skin demon's cultivation. I'm afraid we can't stay any longer tonight. Feng Jiaoqing acted on her words. She immediately turned to order Kai Fai then, Brother Fai then, quickly go call Qin Ziyun. We must immediately pursue those skin demons to prevent them from harming others. When Tam Van Tin heard Feng Jiaoqing mention Qin Ziyun, she thought to herself, oh no, Qin Ziyun. How could I forget about her? Tam Van Tin watched Kai Fi Then's back as he walked away and thought, what if I'm overthinking? The skin demon has been injured so badly by Xie Wu Yin. It barely has time to escape. How could it return to this dangerous place to capture someone? Moreover, the system hasn't given any reminders. Kai Fi then rushed back in panic to announce, not good. Xiao Yun is nowhere to be found. At this moment, the system's reminder finally sounded. Warning, important supporting female character in great danger. Main plot about to be activated. Please be careful, host. Tam Van Tin had anticipated this. Indeed, System Jack, you're no different from Kai Fi Then's compass. Other than being late, you're of no use at all. Kai Fi then immediately sat down cross-legged, concentrating on using the compass to find Qin Ziyun's location. The spiritual energy in the compass began to spread out to search for traces. A moment later, when the spiritual energy converged back in the compass, Kai Fi then exclaimed, found it. Kai Fi then explained to them, Ziyun has a protective treasure on her. The compass can sense her aura. Kai Fi then turned to Feng Jiaoqing and said, Jiao, come with me to find her. Young Master Xie, please take care of our Van Tin. Seeing herself being left behind, Tam Van Tin hurriedly said, wait. But as soon as she stepped out of bed, she lost her balance and fell, hitting her head on the ground. Seeing this, Xie Wu Yin angrily questioned her, what's the rush? The skin demon is already so badly injured. If your brother Kai can't handle it, he might as well bash his head and die. However, Tam Van Tin was still extremely worried. She thought to herself, this won't do. The plot has already deviated from its main course. Not going with them will avoid unexpected events. But now I'm seriously injured and can't catch up with them. Thinking of this, she used a pitiful gaze to beg Xie Wu Yin. Seeing the situation wasn't good, he asked her what she wanted to do. Tam Van Tin then flashed a bright smile and said, Brother Xie, do you want to exorcise demons? The little girl with two cute braids, Tam Van Tin, was smiling happily as she talked to Xie Wu Yin. Brother Xie, do you want to exorcise demons? The handsome man named Xie Wu Yin, with his blood-red eyes, slightly lowered his head in thought. He wondered what had happened to her. Then he stared intently at Tam Van Tin opposite him, making her feel awkward. She cleared her throat and turned her face away. Ahem, Brother Xie, look, this skin demon has countless schemes. Although it's seriously injured, Brother Kai has also expended a lot of energy, so he doesn't have the upper hand. After saying this, she continued, if they really fight, I'm afraid Sister Feng, being a woman, might encounter unexpected situations. After hearing this, Xie Wu Yin slightly narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, is that so? Tam Van Tin's eyes lit up like stars. She nodded repeatedly and replied, yes, yes. Xie Wu Yin coldly and indifferently said, that is indeed pitiful. Then he stared intently at Tam Van Tin, making her feel too embarrassed to speak. Tam Van Tin dejectedly lowered her eyes and thought to herself, is that all? You stubborn supporting male character, unable to win the female lead's heart, and now you have no reaction at all. Did I read a pirated book or something? Then Tam Van Tin slowly started to tear up. She felt sorry for both of them, but since she couldn't do anything, she decided to quietly grab the bed frame and try to climb up. Suddenly, Xie Wu Yin, with his arms crossed behind her, curiously asked Tam Van Tin, you want me to go help? This startled her. She quickly turned around and nodded vigorously, saying When she heard Xie Wu Yin say, it's not impossible, her eyes suddenly lit up like stars. Unexpectedly, he then coldly said, beg me. Hearing this, Tam Van Tin froze stiff. She thought she had misheard and repeated his words, you want me to beg you. However, for the sake of the male and female leads, she had to swallow her pride. Her attitude immediately did a 180-degree turn. Her eyes sparkled like little stars. She clasped her hands together and sincerely pleaded with Xie Wu Yin, please, please, please. Xie Wu Yin didn't expect Tam Van Tin to disregard everything and act like this, so he was momentarily stunned and speechless. He rested his hand on his forehead and thought to himself, is she really a girl educated from a prestigious family? The Kai family is renowned for demon extermination. How do they normally teach her? Surely she's not a spy planted by rivals to ruin their reputation. Tam Van Tin couldn't let her efforts go to waste. She tugged at Xia Wu Yan's sleeve, kindly reminding him, "So, brother Xia, you must keep your word." Seeing her continually tugging at his sleeve without letting go, Xia Wu Yan looked down and gestured with his eyes for Tam Van Tin to release her hand. But she didn't seem as smart as he had imagined. Finally, Xia Wu Yan had to take matters into his own hands. He pulled his sleeve back, leaving the young girl's delicate hand hanging in midair. Xia Wu Yan turned and left without a word. Tam Van Tin saw his coldness and wanted to speak up, but remembering she was asking for a favor, she had to let it go. She thought to herself, never mind, let the great demon king go exorcise demons. It must be difficult for him. I'm not worried about Kai Fai than not catching the skin demon. I'm just afraid Qin Zi Yun might be saved by him in a hero saves beauty scenario, developing feelings and keeping her position as the evil supporting female character. Tam Van Tin tossed and turned in bed, thinking, what's done is done. I'll have to try harder myself in the future. Suddenly, Xia Wu Yan's voice rang out, startling Tam Van Tin and making her eyes widen in surprise. Do you want to stay here alone? Under the bright moonlight, the handsome man stood gracefully on his sword. He called her to come to him. Come here. Tam Van Tin ran like the wind towards Xia Wu Yan, who was standing on his sword by the window. She clung to the windowsill for a long time, struggling but unable to get up. Just as she was feeling sorry for her poor Qigong skills, she looked up only to witness Xia Wu Yan's scrutinizing gaze as he stood on his sword outside. Embarrassed, she poked her two fingers together. Lowering her eyes, she negotiated with him. Whatever position you choose to lift me up, I can accept. Then a sudden ah echoed through the quiet night in the pavilion. Xia Wu Yan, riding his sword, had scooped up Tam Van Tin in a princess carry. Amidst the mountains and forests, a beam of purple light condensed and appeared in the sky. Kai Fai then, holding his sword, rushed forward. He raised his sword horizontally, and flashes of golden light appeared. The young man in the golden light charged forward with his sword. Xiao Yin was collapsing onto the grass. Feng Jiaoqing was chanting an incantation, her entire body enveloped in a purple aura, calling out Xiao Yun. Feng Jiaoqing chanted an incantation with one hand. Due to the skin demon's attacks, she kept coughing up fresh blood. Her face contorted in pain. Suddenly, a sharp claw lunged toward Xiao Yun. Seeing this, Kai Fai then turned pale. He could only shout to warn her to be careful. Abruptly, an energy beam appeared, easily severing the skin demon's arm with its sharp claws. It turned out the one who attacked was Xia Wu Yan. Below him was Tam Van Tin, shamelessly clinging tightly to his legs. The young girl in blue, Xiao Yun, looked up in surprise and exclaimed, "Young Master Xia." Xia Wu Yan stood silently on his sword without saying anything. Kai Fai then supported the injured Qin Xiao Yun to stand up, staring at Xia Wu Yan. Blood still stained the corners of Feng Jiaoqing's mouth, but she couldn't help being surprised when she discovered the arrival of Xia Wu Yan. Xia Wu Yan looked down wearily at Tam Van Tin, who was clinging tightly to his legs. She was still panicking and shouting, "Have we landed yet? Have we landed yet?" Everyone around who saw this scene was exasperated and didn't know what to say. Tam Van Tin, noticing the silence around her, dared to open one eye to observe. Seeing everyone staring at her, she embarrassedly explained, "I'm so sorry. I'm afraid of heights." At this moment, Xia Wu Yin turned back to look at the condition of the skin demon. Then he kindly reminded Kai Fai Van's group the battle is about to end. Hearing this, Tam Van Tin staggered to her feet, hiding behind his back. She looked at where the skin demon was lying face down and sighed in relief, saying, "It seems the fight is indeed over." However, when Tam Van Tin went to reach out and help Qin Xiao Yin up, she coldly snorted and turned her face away indifferently. Suddenly, the skin demon looked at Xia Wu Yin and spoke, "I know who you are." Xia Wu Yin only smiled in response, not bothering to refute. Although the skin demon was exhausted, it still used its last bit of strength to shakily say to Kai Fai Van's group, "People of Xintian Pavilion, do you dare to associate with him? Do you know who he is?" Xia Wu Yin glanced at it with killing intent. Tam Van Tin beside him felt extremely worried hearing it speak like this. Of course, Kai Fai then couldn't trust a demon speaking nonsense about the person who had saved his friends. He gripped his sword tightly and coldly replied to the demon, "Stop talking nonsense, or resisting in desperation. The skin demon just laughed smugly. I'm talking nonsense. Seeing it so confident, Tam Van Tin became even more worried. She thought to herself, this is bad. Earlier, when Xie Wu Yin fought the skin demon, he used demonic power without hiding it. The skin demon might have guessed his identity. We absolutely can't let Xie Wu Yin be exposed in front of Kai Fai then. The skin demon was still trying to lure Kai Fai then. Come closer. I'll tell you. The person you're keeping by your side is actually. Tam Van Tin glanced at it and drew her sword. She used the sword to cut her own hand, letting the blood drip down. A beam of pink-purple light emerged from the wound, causing Tam Van Tin to close her eyes in pain, furrowing her brow. But she still gritted her teeth and endured without uttering a word. Kai Fai then heard the sound of metal and immediately turned to look. The pink-purple light beam flew from Tam Van Tin's arm towards the skin demon. Then Tam Van Tin controlled that light beam to completely envelop it, causing the skin demon to scream in pain. She used the light beam to create a circular barrier separating her and the skin demon from the others. Kai Fai then could only anxiously call her name from outside, helpless. Fontaine. But he couldn't do anything else, because that pink-purple light beam had blocked out all sound and other sources of power from the outside. At this moment, that pink-purple light beam took the shape of a flame. The only difference was that it was pink-purple, while normal flames are red-orange. Tam Van Tin gripped her wrist that had just been cut by the sword. She couldn't hold back anymore and groaned. It hurt so much. Suddenly, images of many women crying for help appeared in her head. Seeing the skin demon's crimes, Tam Van Tin felt angry and hateful on behalf of the victims. Tears streamed down her delicate face. Tam Van Tin hugged her head tightly, deducing, I think I understand now. If I casually use this power to touch someone, when the spiritual fluctuation reaches a certain level, I can see that person's consciousness and memories. But Tam Van Tin looked down at the power continuously escaping from her wrist and thought with a headache, how can I get out of here? She helplessly shouted, ah. Suddenly, a hand was placed on her shoulder, restraining the power emanating from her wrist. This startled Tam Van Tin, her eyes widening in surprise. She suddenly saw a little girl in blue being led by a woman. The little girl in blue looked up at that woman with innocent eyes. At the same time, a question arose in her mind. Whose memory is this? The system displayed a warning. System reminder. You have activated an additional hidden mission, Xie Wu Yan's past. Please quickly provide progress on this mission to supplement missing details in the original novel. She suddenly woke up, opening her eyes. She sat up but suddenly realized this body was injured. She cried out in pain. Kai Fai then beside her was startled. He came over to support her, saying be careful. She couldn't help feeling dissatisfied. This damn system. The employee is already on the bed breathing oxygen, yet still doesn't forget to urge me to complete KPIs. This is truly typical of today's society. Nothing compares to its heartlessness. Kai Fai then looked at her reassuringly. Van Tin, don't worry. The skin demon has been eliminated. Your wounds are too severe. You need to rest for a few more days before we can continue our journey. While unconscious, she didn't know anything, so she asked him back, Brother Kai, what happened to me? Kai Fai then replied, I wanted to ask you that. Where did you learn that secret technique? Being asked this, she was unexpectedly caught off guard. I'm not sure either. It was just when I was attacked by the skin demon that time, I accidentally discovered I had this kind of ability. Kai Fai then kindly pulled up the blanket for her. If that's the case, it might be related to your background. But once outsiders or the elders of the clans discover you have this kind of power, they certainly won't let it go easily. He held his head somewhat helplessly and instructed her, all right, you just need to rest well. Don't tell anyone about this. I'll also remind Qin Ziyun and Jiao Qing not to talk about it carelessly until everything is clear. Kai Fai then said solemnly, but you must promise me, in the future, unless absolutely necessary, you must never use this power again. She obediently replied yes. Seeing that he had finished his instructions, Kai Fai then stood up to leave so she could rest. Suddenly, Van Tin pulled his sleeve and spoke up, wait, Brother Kentucky. He turned and asked, what is it? She hesitated a bit because of the skin demon incident. I haven't been resting well. Just now when I fainted, I had a nightmare. So, can you tell me about the sealed demon lord? Hearing her question, he was a bit surprised. You're interested in the demon lord. She thought carefully. After all, it was a system mission. She had to find a way to understand the situation. She said hesitantly, I see the elders are all frightened. Is the demon lord really that scary? If not, couldn't we coexist peacefully? He replied straightforwardly, no, absolutely not. She didn't expect such an answer. She looked at him and asked again why. Kai-Fi then sat down to explain. Actually, the demon lord isn't a demon cultivator, but the child of a cultivator from the heavenly Tao Palace and a demon cultivator. He continued explaining, initially, the heavenly Tao Palace really did raise him along with other cultivators, hoping he could eliminate the demonic nature in his bloodline. But unexpectedly, raising a tiger became a disaster. Although he was young, his violent nature was hard to control. That year, he single-handedly nearly wiped out an entire branch of the heavenly Tao Palace. The image that appeared in Kai-Fi Thence mind was of him as a child, but with hands already stained with blood. Her expression became a bit sad as she asked, "Is that true?" Seeing her like this, Kai-Fi then patted her head and comforted her. "Van Tin, I know you have pure thoughts. But whether in the human realm or demon realm, such a person cannot be tolerated. If we don't seal him, it will surely lead to widespread suffering." The moonlight illuminated the night sky, and the room below was still lit. She looked at her bandaged hand, constantly thinking, what I saw then must be related to the demon lord's memories. The image of the sect leader looking at the boy lying in bright red lava. She felt a bit heartbroken. So those people in luxurious clothes, watching him being pushed into the furnace, forcing him to fight endlessly in blood and fire, were disciples of the heavenly Tao Palace. Her face became determined again. Rumors are just what the spreaders want the world to know. She clenched her bandaged hand. But the memories I saw through the spiritual consciousness cannot be deceived. However, the more she thought about it, the more unfair it seemed for him. In other words, these things for Xie Wu Yin were not good nurturing. From the beginning, Xie Wu Yin was destined to be killed. Thinking too much wouldn't accomplish anything. She left the bed, thinking of a solution. These so-called righteous sects used the cruelest methods to force him to grow up quickly, to force him to eliminate similar bloodlines in the demon world. Finally, they made him sacrifice himself. So it's not that he wanted to become a great demon lord slaughtering living beings, but that he had no chance to become who he wanted to be. He was forced. She opened the door, and suddenly, the mystical bird flew in. It let out a cry. Ouch! It rubbed its head and looked at her. I say, this woman's life is really tough. She definitely can't die. Hearing this, she asked back, why are you here? It showed disdain. I am a divine beast. I can appear wherever I want. Do I need to report to you, a mere woman? Her face began to warn. Speak nicely, or you'll become a snack on the drinking table. The mystical bird, seeing this, avoided her gaze. All right, actually I heard you had woken up, so I came to see. Hearing this, she wasn't surprised but asked it back, where's Xie Wu Yin? It started to struggle upon hearing this. His Highness isn't someone you can just ask to see. Suddenly she heard something and turned around. Xie Wu Yin stood there with an amused smile, asking, looking for me. He stood before her with his arms crossed, asking, what's wrong, looking for me. She noticed blood on the sleeve of his robe. She thought he would appear here, and stammered, actually it's nothing important. He moved closer to her face. You've been unconscious for so long. Aren't you curious about what I've been doing during that time? Look at my face. Are you interested? She laughed awkwardly and said, I can guess it's nothing good. May I ask what young Master Xie has been doing recently? Looking at his blood-stained clothes, he replied, killing people and demons. His cold red eyes looked in her direction. For me, knowing too much isn't a good thing. Oh. She could only think, so handsome people can say anything. I've asked too much. Isn't he blatantly threatening me? I know too much. Is he planning to deal with me now? She tried to awkwardly reply, I take back my question about wanting to know what you've been doing. Is it still in time? He smiled teasingly. She looked at him innocently with a question mark. He was just teasing her a bit and explained, I'm not threatening you. It's that the skin demon reminded me. Since I came out of the seal, I've attracted quite a few demons near Xintian Mountain. To warn them not to talk nonsense, I personally visited and inquired about them. She held her head in exasperation. I guess you inquired about their entire family tree for 3 generations, right? The great demon king going to exorcise demons. It's only now that she noticed his bandaged hands. She spoke up, why are you injured? How evil-hearted must those demons be to act so cruelly? That's too much. Hearing her, he casually looked at his bandaged hands. He calmly pointed at her. It was you. Oh, then let's pretend I didn't say anything. She turned her face away, changing the subject. Now that it's done, young Master Xie should go rest early. She suddenly startled, as if remembering something. No, when did I injure Xie Wu Yin? Could it be at that time? The image of him as a child appeared in her mind, which she had accidentally seen when fighting the skin demon. Could it be that when my spiritual consciousness was about to be completely burned, I came into contact with his spiritual power? The more she thought about it, the more it seemed right. So it was thanks to his power that I was able to see his memories at that time. Her eyes, sparkling with sadness, looked at him. He was putting a question mark, not knowing why this woman was looking at him so strangely. She went over and took his hand, gently asking, "Does it hurt?" He was quite surprised by this question. Unconsciously, he didn't know how to answer. She was still looking at him, waiting for an answer. The scene was becoming romantic when Chin Ziyin suddenly burst in shouting, "Tam Van Tin." Brother Kai asks if you want to come down for a bite to eat. As if caught red-handed, Tam Van Tin felt a bit embarrassed. She let go of Xie Wu Yan's hands and laughed awkwardly. What the quinisa? He had been held by her all this time like a statue, saying nothing. Chin Ziyin seemed to feel uncomfortable and just snorted. She turned and left, surprising Tam Van Tin. She chased after Chin Ziyin. "Hey, wait for me a bit." Chin Ziyin turned back and just said, "Let's compete fairly." She didn't understand what Chin Ziyin meant, feeling slightly confused. She then spoke up to explain, "You misunderstand. I don't like Kai-Fi then." Chin Ziyin still insisted, "I'm talking about young Master Xie. Anyway, you've been rejected. Let's compete fairly." That statement confused her for the second time. Tam Van Tin approached her, grabbed her shoulders, and advised, "You should give up." Chin Ziyin, thinking she was being looked down upon, raised her voice, "Are you looking down on me?" Seeing that look, she flinched slightly. "No, why did you come to that conclusion yourself?" Chin Ziyin grabbed her hand until it shook, and she continued, Xie Wu Yin is not the kind of person you can approach." Still with that look, Chin Ziyin asked Tam Van Tin, "So now you're threatening me, right?" The more they talked, the more misunderstandings arose. She tried to explain, "I'm not." Chin Ziyin shook off her hand, her eyes warning. "By the way, let me advise you. Someone like you, who uses any means necessary, even if you cling to young Master Xie, he won't like you anyway." After saying this, Chin Ziyin turned and left, leaving Tam Van Tin standing there not knowing what else to say. She stood there helplessly and sighed. "Wait, do you really understand what I'm saying?" Tam Van Tin was a bit confused. Her hand unconsciously reached out. "Why do I have the feeling that this scene has happened somewhere before?" Suddenly, the image from earlier appeared in her mind. "You should give up quickly. He's not someone you can get close to." Kai-Fi then had just walked up. Seeing her standing in a daze, he called out, "Van Tin, why are you standing there blankly?" Tam Van Tin turned around, her eyes meeting his. A moment later, both were sitting at a table full of food. Kai-Fi then gently handed her a bowl of rice, saying softly, "Van Tin, you've really had a hard time. Look, you've lost quite a bit of weight these days." Tam Van Tin pondui. Since leaving the sect until now, somehow she had gained a few pounds. Almost all of her old small dresses no longer fit. Indeed, only family can see you've gotten thinner. Kai-Fi then quickly reached out. He picked up several dishes and put them in her bowl, saying, "You're tired. Eat a bit more to replenish your strength." Tam Van Tin was equally polite, picking up food for him, smiling as she spoke. "No, Brother Kai is the one who's worked hard. You should eat more too." From afar, Xie Wu Yin saw the two laughing and talking happily. Kai-Fi then even carefully wiped off the food stains on Tam Van Tin's mouth. Xie Wu Yin showed no signs of jealousy. He only coldly crushed the pine nut in his hand. The mystical bird beside him was startled by Xie Wu Yan's action. The scene changes to the evening in the bedroom. Tam Van Tin lay comfortably on the bed. "Honestly, I can't keep eating like this forever." She picked up a book and whispered, "Days of eating well and having novels to read. It's too happy." A long while later, after the lights were out, Xie Wu Yin slowly entered. He silently looked at her. His eyes were full of love, but couldn't express it in words. On the bed, Tam Van Tin had fallen into a deep sleep. The book was placed right on her face. He picked up the book to look at it, thinking to himself, "What kind of book is this? I should take a look." But as soon as he finished speaking, his hand waved slightly and the book immediately tore apart. Xie Wu Yin gently sat down on the edge of the bed, staring intently at her. Tam Van Tin was still sound asleep, completely unaware of his presence. Suddenly she sleep-talked, "It's so hot." Xie Wu Yin immediately used spiritual energy from his hands, creating a cool breeze, making the room's atmosphere more comfortable. Tam Van Tin slightly turned towards the cool air, unconsciously grabbing his hand. Xie Wu Yin was momentarily surprised. She took the opportunity to lie fully on his lap. Her dreamy face satisfied, she said, so comfortable. He pondered deeply. What a strange evening. It makes one feel inexplicably frustrated. Xia Wuyan gently continued to transmit spiritual energy, maintaining the coolness on her body. Thanks to this, Tam Van Tin felt more comfortable and gradually fell into a deep sleep. Then he slowly withdrew his spiritual energy to avoid startling her. Then he gently raised his hand, tenderly brushing aside Van Tin's messy hair strands. He himself felt a bit tired. Looking at the moonlight outside the window, he pondered, wondering how many times he had seen this scenery. It felt as if he was still in the dungeon of the Heavenly Tao Palace. He recalled the time at the Heavenly Tao Palace. Every night was like hell, with the heavy smell of mold and the icy cold chains. No bird song, no blue sky. When he escaped from the Heavenly Tao Palace in the demon realm, he had once been a hunter for the Heavenly Tao Palace, cruelly pursuing and killing his own kind. The Heavenly Tao Palace didn't accept him, neither did the demon realm. If the world didn't give him a way out, he would create his own realm. Everyone in the world feared him. Living in solitude brought peace. But after living like that for years, he suddenly realized that life was no different from death. Just then, Tam Van Tin's light sneeze sounded, interrupting his thoughts. She gently scratched her nose due to an itch. Then she changed her position and continued sleeping. Seeing this, Xia Wuyan couldn't help but smile gently. He lightly played with a few strands of her hair. Tam Van Tin was still sound asleep, unconsciously rubbing her face against his hand. Xia Wuyan looked at her intently, thinking to himself, for the first time, someone is sleeping peacefully beside me. Perhaps I'm also like normal people. The night gradually passed, and the moonlight faded, giving way to the first rays of morning sunlight. Tam Van Tin stretched and woke up, sighing contentedly. It's been a long time since I've slept this well. I feel so refreshed. Suddenly her hand touched something that felt like hair. She raised her head curiously, looking forward. Xia Wuyan was leaning against the edge of the bed, eyes closed, lips slightly pressed as if resting. Tam Van Tin was terrified, thinking she had seen a ghost. She immediately sat up, hugging a pillow in a defensive posture. Her mind was in chaos. Could it be that the soft pillow I hugged all night was the great demon king? This is truly self-inflicted misery. She cautiously crawled over, gently reaching out to touch him. He's still breathing, not a ghost. But before she could sigh in relief, Xia Wuyan suddenly opened his eyes and looked straight at her. Tam Van Tin was startled and immediately hugged the pillow, backing away. Seeing him not saying anything, just looking at her, she hurriedly flattered him, pulling the blanket back. You should prop up your head and cover yourself carefully with the blanket, lest you get a stiff neck. Xia Wuyan chuckled and remarked, I find you even stranger than myself. She silently moved back, causing her clothes to slip down, revealing her smooth white shoulders. She hurriedly pulled her clothes up and politely said, This gentleman, may I ask if you could step aside for a moment? I need to change clothes. Xia Wuyan calmly closed his eyes and smiled lightly. I'll close my eyes and pretend I don't see anything. Tam Van Tin sighed, feeling like she wasn't being treated as a human anymore. Suddenly, Kai Then's voice sounded from outside. Van Tin, are you up? Can I come in? Tam Van Tin panicked, looking at Xia Wuyan and then at the door before deciding to push him off the bed. Xia Wuyan was pushed down, his mind full of question marks. Kai then entered and asked her, How did you rest yesterday? Behind Tam Van Tin, the bed curtains had been lowered, obscuring the view. She gripped the bed curtain tightly and nervously replied, Very well. Anxiously, she thought, I hope the great demon king can lie still and not do anything. However, Xia Wuyan slightly shifted, causing the bed to creak. Tam Van Tin angrily thought, I really want to strangle him. Kai then suspiciously asked, What was that just now? Tam Van Tin quickly interrupted, Sai. Brother Kai, did you need something from me? Distracted by her, Kai then replied, We've delayed here for too long. Seeing that your injuries are no longer serious, we'll set out tonight to return. Pack your things. Don't forget anything. Tam Van Tin smiled brightly and answered, All right, I'll pack right away. Reassured, Kai then turned to leave, saying, Then I'll inform Jiao Qing and Ziyun. Seeing him gone, Tam Van Tin sighed in relief. She glanced at the bed curtain behind her. Then she used her hand to pull back the curtain. Inside, Xia Wu Yin was casually reading her script. Love in the Secluded Valley. Tam Van Tin gaped at him. Xia Wu Yin read softly. I forced the female disciple, imprisoning her in darkness for 3 days and 3 nights. Tam Van Tin screamed in embarrassment. Don't read it out loud. Not caring if she could fight him or not, she lunged forward to snatch the book. Xia Wu Yin deliberately teased her, raising his hand high so she couldn't reach it. At this moment, Qin Ziyin rushed in and asked Tam Van Tin, do you know where young Master Xia went? I just came to bring him something, but couldn't find him. Tam Van Tin, her mind in chaos, cursed softly, damn it. Xia Wu Yin glanced at her, then without hesitation, wrapped his arm around her waist. His hand lightly used spiritual energy to lower the bed curtain. Qin Ziyin looked at the bed curtain and asked softly, are you still sleeping? Seeing the silhouette on the bed curtain, Tam Van Tin worriedly thought, I beg you, don't come here. If we're discovered, even jumping into the Yellow River won't wash me clean. A corner of the curtain was lifted. Tam Van Tin trembled, burying her head against him to hide. Her hand tightly gripped his clothes. When Qin Ziyin pulled back the curtain, she was a bit surprised. The bed was empty. She thought confusedly, not in the room. Then Fontaine looked over blankly. Xia Wu Yin pressed his index finger to her lips, making a shushing sound. She realized, is this an invisibility technique? Unable to find anyone, Qin Ziyin finally left. Tam Van Tin knelt beside him, sighing in relief and saying, thank you. Xia Wu Yan's index finger playfully twirled a lock of her hair as he lazily asked, all right, how do you want to thank me? Tam Van Tin was at a loss for words. She angrily raised her fist and said, that's enough. How can you take advantage of the situation so quickly? Originally planning to depart, but due to some issues, the group had to delay for a few more hours. Feng Jiao Qing weakly said, I'm really sorry everyone. I was unexpectedly attacked by a ghost snail and got slightly injured, delaying everyone's departure time. Tam Van Tin gently said, it's all right. Sister Feng, just rest in the carriage. Brother Kai and I will drive from outside. Xia Wu Yin pushed her, showing disdain. You go inside. I'll drive with Brother Kai. Hearing this, she smiled happily. Darkness gradually enveloped everything. The fog grew thicker. The carriage seemed to blend into the night. Kai Fai Than's eyes hardened slightly. Xia Wu Yin also sensed a faint smell of blood. Just then a series of drum beats rang out. A group of people carrying a flower sedan chair was moving to the rhythm of music, seemingly conducting a wedding ceremony. The faces of the group appeared soulless. Qin Ziyin pulled back the curtain to look out, wondering who would hold a wedding ceremony here in the middle of the night. Kai Fai then gestured for her to be quiet. As the flower sedan chair approached, Tam Van Tin pulled back the curtain to look. The curtain of the flower sedan chair was blown up by the wind. They could faintly see a girl in a wedding dress sitting inside. They could vaguely hear her crying. Kai Fai then stopped the procession. Wait a moment. Pardon my rudeness, but may I ask what you're doing in the middle of the night? The villager at the front glanced at him coldly and said, you're an outsider. Don't meddle in our affairs. Tam Van Tin leaned against the carriage door, eavesdropping. She mused, this town is 100% about to trigger some hidden quest. Then an elderly couple wept miserably, kneeling beside Kai Fai Than's feet, clutching his clothes and crying, young hero, please save our little girl. Kai Fai then hurriedly helped them up, saying, elders, please stand up and then we'll talk. The old woman sobbed, you don't understand. We're not holding a wedding ceremony. We're offering a sacrifice to a demon. Tam Van Tin thought to herself, offering a sacrifice. In short, 3 years ago, this village suffered a severe drought. Suddenly, someone came claiming to be the mountain god. He summoned a heavy rain that eased the drought a bit. Since then, the village chief built a temple in the bamboo forest and went there daily to burn incense, praying for his own promotion, wealth, and immortality. One day, the mountain god appeared and said if they wanted their wishes granted, they could, but each month they must offer a beautiful young woman as a sacrifice. If they did so, all their wishes would come true. If not, Tam Van Tin rested her chin on her hand, deducing, this way of speaking, you can tell it's not a righteous mountain god. It's most likely a demon in disguise playing tricks. The old woman continued chokingly. At first, everyone thought this was unacceptable, but the village chief thought it was a good thing. After all, it wouldn't be his turn to offer someone as a sacrifice. So he started forcing villagers to choose one person each month to send to the mountain god's temple. But in the end, the villagers didn't receive any benefits. Moreover, all the benefits were monopolized by this village chief, acting as the middleman. Upon hearing this, Kai-Fi then immediately reassured them. "Don't worry, I will definitely help you catch this demon." The old man sighed and said, "Master, there's something you don't know. This demon is elusive. In the past, people secretly invited Taoist masters to subdue it, but each time they were killed, leaving no trace." Kai-Fi then frowned, thinking about this. Xie Wu Yin, sitting beside him with arms crossed, calmly said, "If that's the case, to successfully lure this demon out, perhaps the only way is to use the sacrifice as bait." Kai-Fi then glanced at him and replied, "But ordinary people used as bait have no way to protect themselves. Feng Jiaoqing is injured and still unconscious." Tam Van Tin glanced at Qin Ziyun, pondering. With Qin Ziyun's reckless personality, the demon might not even have time to kill her before she jumps onto the sword herself. So like this, there's only Xie Wu Yin and Kai-Fi then both turned to look at her. Tam Van Tin had to speak up. "I'm very familiar with this. Being bait is my specialty. But I must say one thing first." She glanced at the couple and continued, "But I think that if anything happens later, or if we can't catch the demon, for example, we should consider killing the village chief first." Kai-Fi then looked at her in surprise. Xie Wu Yin thought to himself, "She's really quite interesting." And so, in that quiet night, Van Tin sat in front of the mirror to adjust her appearance. Her hand touched the bride's outfit she was about to wear. The old woman approached, holding some food, and said, "Benefactor, please have some food first." Looking at the tray, there were only a few cakes and a glass of water. Nothing suspicious. The old woman came over and touched her hair. "Thank you, Benefactor, for saving our little girl. If you truly eliminate the mountain demon, even if this old body has to work as an ox or horse, I'd be willing." She happily replied, "No need for formalities, old lady. This is what demon hunters should do. No need for excessive courtesy." She turned around. "I'll change into the wedding dress myself. No need to trouble you." The old woman held a cup of water. "Benefactor, the purple bamboo forest is cold. The journey is tough. Please drink this to warm yourself." She also took the warm cup of water. While drinking, she didn't forget to thank her. "Thank you." Then the old woman left. She saw her off and gradually closed the door. The space suddenly became very quiet. She began to suspect something. Something wasn't right. She touched her throat. Something was welling up there. She raised her hand to cover her mouth and coughed. Looking at her hand stained with blood, she also sensed it. She began to analyze. Very wrong. Logically speaking, the mountain god sacrifice ceremony, held once a month, should be an extremely important event. But on such an important occasion, the village chief who manages everything didn't appear. Moreover, the wedding sedan being stopped on the way caused such a big commotion. She wondered. The villagers calmly took me home to change the sacrifice. Don't they fear the village chief or mountain god appearing? Touching her hair and remembering that bridal outfit, the wedding dress was excessively elaborate. Along with this complex makeup, it made no sense. The only explanation was they didn't see her as an impersonator to lure the mountain god, but as the real sacrifice. This thought greatly shocked her. Sitting idle wouldn't accomplish anything. She changed into the bridal outfit and opened the door to go out. She reminded herself, absolutely cannot trust these villagers. Rather than opposing the villagers who are unclear if they're friends or foes, it's better to temporarily pretend to go along. Then reunite with Brother Kentucky. It seemed that outside, people had prepared the sedan chair for her. Thus, the sacrifice ceremony began. The sound of drums and horns rang out like a ghost wedding. She sat inside. The cold feeling penetrating to her bones made her uncomfortable. She hugged her shivering body and said, "So cold." At the same time, someone outside spoke, "Miss, we've arrived. When the sedan stops, I'll help you out in front of the temple." She gradually stepped down from the sedan. The old woman was still guiding her. "Then you must kneel on the carpet by yourself for a while. The mountain god will naturally appear before you." It was the temple where she needed to go to meet the mountain god. The old woman also began to say goodbye. "Well, miss, I can only take you this far." She turned back and said, "Wait." The performance began as she suggested. "Old lady, let me hug you once. Thank you for bringing me here." The old woman couldn't refuse this request and hugged her. Of course, it wasn't a simple hug. She secretly stuck a sound transmission talisman on the old woman's back. The moon tonight was a bit red and bewitching. She gradually pushed open the door door and entered. Oh my! The scene before her eyes shocked her. In front of the door were scattered corpses, or skulls and bodies of others gradually rotting away. Tam Van Tin looked at the miserable scene on the ground. Then she cautiously pulled out the hairpin from her hair. The situation isn't right. So many corpses, yet the villagers didn't say a word. She gripped the golden hairpin tightly in her hand, reassuring herself to stay calm. Then she stepped inside the room, looking at the mat on the ground. The old woman said to kneel on the ground and wait. Then she took out the sound transmission talisman. Can the ritual begin? On the other side, the villagers, still unaware, laughed and said, 5 fools came looking for death. The mountain god will surely reward us. Another said, but I heard from people in town that these cultivators seem to have some background. The old woman, with the sound transmission talisman on her, spoke carelessly, don't worry, I saw it with my own eyes. These fools have drunk our potion. Their powers will certainly be affected. The sound transmission talisman in her hand transmitted the old woman's voice. How could there be any problem with what the mountain god gave us? Suddenly, a miserable scream came through the talisman. Ah, save me. Vanton was confused. What's happening? Could the talisman have been discovered? It seemed that many cultivators had been lured here by the villagers, following the ritual to lure out the demon, then cruelly murdered. Then she turned back towards the door. Although these people are all lying, one thing they said isn't wrong. According to their method, it can indeed lure out the demon. I must think of a way to meet with Kai Fai Than and Xia Wu Yin, then figure out how to deal with the demon and the villagers. Van Tin tried to push the door open, but it didn't budge. She was confused. It shouldn't be. Even if those villagers locked the door, logically I should be able to break it open. Could it be? Thinking of this, she gripped the golden hairpin tightly. She could sense an unclean energy source behind her, demonic energy. She gripped the hairpin tightly. The monster had now approached Van Tin, smiling sinisterly. These fools really brought me a good thing. The demon whispered in her ear, little girl, you're quite smart, but being too smart isn't a good thing. Van Tin tensed up, motionless, as he embraced her waist. Oh no, this demon is taking advantage of me. Strange, with such strong demonic energy here. How could Kai Fai then not notice? Could they really have fallen for the trap? Forget it. Relying on others isn't as good as relying on myself. Then Van Tin decisively used the hairpin to cut her hand. Suddenly, someone spoke really. She turned around in surprise. It was Xia Wu Yin, leaning against a pillar with his arms crossed. This wedding dress